And welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. I am your host, Fearless Floyd. As always, thank you for being here. And I'm going to pause this video because it's 12 o'clock. I have to contact my clients and my guest hosts and get everybody arranged. So stay tuned. I'll be right back on location in the fabulous San Luis Resort, Galveston, Texas. And hello, everybody. And I'm back with actually more guests than I anticipated, which is a blessing. And I'm very grateful for this show, for everybody. Thank you. And I'm going to introduce everybody one by one. I'm going to introduce Ann, James, Kevin, Joshua. And when our other guest comes on, I will introduce her. So give yourself a little brief introduction, let everybody know who you are and what you're about. And we'll start with Ann.
Hi, I'm Ann. I work with Floyd. We're doing trust. We're doing VCR classes. We are figuring out all the mess to get people out of this public garbage.
There you are.
I
got you. I got you.
You got me?
Yep, you're on.
Okay.
All right, I'll jump in. So hi, my name is James C. Lovett. You can find me on YouTube. I specialize in passports, court cases, taxing, tax avoidance, the legal way, and just correcting one's status standing and basically freeing people from the matrix. So that's me in a nutshell.
Give your Telegram website.
Telegram is the Bad Wolf Unincorporated, and then just the YouTube. The main website is blacksite32.com. And then you can just find me, James C. Lovett, on YouTube or at the Bad Wolf on YouTube as well. Thank you, Floyd.
You're welcome. Kevin?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I didn't realize this was going to come to this kind of fruition this fast, like within 5 minutes, which was awesome. You know, ask and ye shall receive. That's what I love about this great, big, wonderful universe. We get to flow with these things and create and manifest, as it were. But I am a former vice president financial consultant with TD Ameritrade Schwab. That former is recent because of recent events that I've brought to their attention that they didn't like me bringing to their attention. But I got into the whole legal aspects of things when I was literally attacked at a hospital, which my son had just been admitted to and taken by ambulance with a traumatic brain injury. And the Nazis there wanted me to wear a mask. And of course I can't with my medical condition. So I was physically assaulted by 4 armed guards and have been having to defend myself with a court case. And of course I've done many, many, many things in that court case. And I'm looking forward to asking Anita some poignant questions about what possibly could have happened to my court case, because it's now disappeared. And I believe the corporation that had that court case has now disappeared. So this ought to be fun.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a very lengthy, deep dive video that I think everybody will want to watch. Joshua?
Well, I don't have the credentials that Kevin has. However, what my journey is I find myself next to people like Kevin, and I find that as I may not know things that he knows in the technical aspects, spiritually, and on a lot of different levels, I'm able to connect with folks like Ann and Kevin and James. Pleasure to meet you. I'm a subscriber. So I soak it all in, and then the guys call me nudges. I get little downloads. I don't know what it is, but then I act on them, and then I give them to people that can do better with it than me, and then it just ends up being beautiful. And it happens over and over and over and over. So I'm just blessed to be here with you all. I'm a tile guy, 30 years on my knees, ready to stop doing that, and just be on a different path that just help humanity. And that's my journey. So thanks for having me.
Okay. We have nobody coming in. Did somebody invite somebody else?
No, I only invited Kevin and Josh.
Chris
James,
may
Anita?
jump, Chris may jump on. He's one of my researchers, so
Okay, well, I just added him, so we'll see who he is.
it may say none ya.
It says nobody.
Okay.
All right, Anita, go ahead and do your introduction and tell us who you are and why you're here.
Here's Ann LeFlore. She's an old lady.
Anita, can you hear me? Yeah,
There she is. I see her.
yeah. Can you hear us, Anita? She must
You
be
know
having
what she
difficulties
probably
again.
did? You know what she probably did when she came in? She probably didn't say use my telephone audio.
Hmm,
Okay.
Yeah, she didn't use because she's on telephone, so she's probably hasn't activated her telephone audio.
yeah, she's doing it now. Looks like she's connecting.
Yeah. Yep, she has to connect to audio.
Okay, I am making James, Ann, Kevin, and Anita co-hosts in case y'all want to share anything from documentation or
Interesting.
instruments. Anybody else needs that privilege, just let me know. And Anita seems to have difficulties. What was nobody's name?
I
Chris.
think Chris.
Chris. Okay. Hey, Chris, you want to give us an introduction to who you are and why you're here? I can't believe we got 7 people on here.
I'm here to listen to the court clerk. We've been talking about this for the last week, and Josh brought this to our attention not a couple days ago, and I said, "Oh yeah, I definitely want to speak to her.
Right.
I want to hear,
And
hear some inside."
And this is my second court clerk to verify that they're issuing bonds on the backside. The first one, I'll give you all the story. I was helping somebody move from Fort Lauderdale, and we needed somebody to drive the property back from Fort Lauderdale to Houston. So somebody that was with us said, "Hey, I got some friends that are drivers," and called them up, and man, they showed up and brought a trailer. So while we're packing everything, putting it on the trailer, there's 2 women drivers, truck drivers. So I kick it with them because I'm in the entertainment industry and it's rare to see a woman truck driver. So I was like, "Hey, how'd you get into truck driving?" She goes, "Well, I used to be a deputy court clerk in Mississippi." And I went, "What?" I go, "So you know about the bonds?" That was the first thing out of my mouth. "So you know about the bonds?" And she'd like, "What? Oh, you know about the bonds too?" And I went, "Oh yeah, I know about the bonds. Come here, let's go have a talk." So
Can you guys hear me, Mr. Floyd?
yes, we can hear you now.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, we can hear you now.
Yes.
Hi,
So
Anita.
I
that's,
apologize. Yes, ma'am. I apologize. I need a new phone. I'm so sorry.
that's all right. Quit
Oh,
apologizing.
don't worry.
Maybe we'll do a
It's a
GoFundMe to
learning
get you a new
process.
phone.
I
So
promise I'll
anyway,
have my new Mac and new computer by next week. Thank you guys for
okay.
your patience.
Yeah, let me
Yes,
finish the
ma'am.
story and then we'll let you do your introduction and then we'll get started.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So you're welcome. So we went aside and she was actually, when she left the clerk's office, she went and worked for a legislator in Mississippi and became a legislative aide. And those fools know about it too. They don't know the whole machinations of A to Z, but they know A, M, P, Q, Z. They know they know enough to know that something's going on in the background. I had her contact number. I had her in Telegram, and for some reason she disappeared. So I'm thinking when my phone was stolen in August, I lost her contact information, but I'm trying to backtrack through that and get it back. So I will have 2 verifiable sources aside from Anita to verify exactly what's going on in the background. So with that, I will digress Anita, give us your introduction of who you are and how you came to be here and what you want to present today. And before
Yes,
that,
sir.
let me introduce you to everybody. Of course, you know Ann LeFlore. Next
Hi.
to Ann is
Hi,
James
Miss
C.
Ann.
Lovett. He's the
Hi,
big
Mr.
bad
Lovett.
wolf
How are
on
you?
YouTube.
Hi, Anita, how are you? Pleasure.
And this is Kevin
Awesome,
Westring.
awesome.
He's a former VP at TD Ameritrade Schwab. This is
Thank you.
Joshua, one of his running partners. And
Hi,
of course
Anita.
you.
Awesome.
And then we have
Hello.
Chris, who's coming in as Mr. Nobody, and he's a researcher for Kevin and Joshua.
Hello, Anita.
Awesome. Hello,
Okay.
ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time and your patience. I am currently living in Mobile, Alabama. I've worked for circuit court for almost 7 years. Be 7 years in April. And I'm trying to learn the process and how this goes. I was under the deputy clerk of Mobile County. And I don't know how much you want me to let them know, but I work for the
Everything.
state. Yeah. Okay,
Everything.
will do. I appreciate that.
Don't hold
They
back.
were just,
You don't even have to pause. You can just tell us your story.
Don't hold
I
back.
work for the,
Tell it all.
yes, ma'am. I'll let it all out. I work for the deputy clerk of Mobile County, and there are 3 deputy clerks. You have one over the entire county, you have one for the Circuit Civil Division, and then there's one deputy clerk for domestic relations. The 2 that are in question is the deputy clerk for Mobile County, who works over all of the divisions and the county, then the circuit clerk, deputy clerk. Make a long story short, I process writ, ejectments, and distinguish orders for the state. And they were doing some unethical stuff. And I think once I learned what they were doing, and I tried to counteract that because some of these people were just not knowledgeable on what to do in the process. There is a couple of ways that they were taking homes from people lawfully. My last, I think his name was Mr. Nettles. I have to find out his case number, but he had paid his home off.
Excuse me. Explain process.
Mhm.
Explain process.
The process is for them to do is several ways. It's one way that they do it. They'll run an ad in the paper. Make a long story short, run an ad in the paper. If you don't pay your taxes consecutively for 3 years, they can obtain a tax lien deed. And the gentleman that kind of hit the fan with, he had paid his home off. His wife had passed. He took care of all of the finances, all of the bills, and never put it into homestead. They were sending, I'm not sure who they entailed, but they were sending his taxes, which he thought he didn't have to pay because it should have been in homestead, to a different address. They paid it consecutively for 3 years. He contacted me when the sheriff showed up at his house to put them out. They ran an ad in the paper, I think 4 weeks, and they won by default. So they go through that process. And if the
Who's
sheriff
they?
would not have,
Who's they?
I'm sorry, it could be an attorney, it could be a regular citizen, it could be anybody. If they pay those
Okay.
taxes consecutively for 3 years, they can obtain a deed. And you
Okay.
have an opportunity to tell your side as the defendant. If you don't show up for court, you automatically win by default. And that's
Okay.
how the sheriff was at his house. And he's an elderly gentleman. He was like 73. And he didn't understand the process. And I kind of know how it goes. And he was upset. And naturally, his family's there. You have a moving company there to put you out of your home and you have no idea. Well, make a long story short, they got a letter to the judge by the grace of God, and the judge gave them their homes back. And this has happened several times with several different people. Another lady, same Mrs. Latasha was her name. She was under an agreement. Make a long story short, the plaintiff was corrupt and did something unethical, put her out of the home, $650,000 home and property. And I was bringing attention to these issues. So they got rid of me out of the way because these people were getting their homes back. Normally an attorney would charge them a retainer of $5,000 to $7,500 to represent them in a case this far along and this far progressed. In actuality, they just have to asked for a court hearing and get back in front of the judge. So I was cutting a lot of the foolishness out by having them, and I probably shouldn't have, but I have to sleep at night. Having these people who are about to lose their homes write a letter to the judge, just asking to set aside judgment and ask for another court hearing. And we had some good judges and we have some bad ones. And several of them got their homes back. So I was the target under investigation, no wrongdoing found on my part. So me being a permanent state employee, they can't just fire me, and I'm with the union. So we're at that phase now. They have not to date given a justification, a legitimate justification for my termination from the state of Alabama. So I wanted to, the Fearless Wolf gentleman, I've seen him, and my girlfriend said, he's awesome. You need to contact them. And she sent me the link, and I saw the Fearless gentleman first, and then Mr. Wolf first, and then Mr. Fearless gentleman second. And I'm like, I got to get in contact with these people. So it's just been a process of retaliation. No attorney wants to take my case because of the level of documentation I have, and they are guilty. So they are afraid to take the case. They did a judgment against my husband for $159,000 on an empty case, which is unethical. So that was abuse of the court and misconduct of the court for that under Judge Pipes. Judge York was my judge. So it's just been compounded. It's a cocktail of things that they've done wrong. And I was told that I shouldn't go after their bond because that's a whole nother level of irritation on their part. But I don't really know what to do other than pray and kind of get my ducks in order. I have to amend my complaint this week and file it back in circuit court. Hello?
Seriously, yeah. They have an ISLN number, which is their international bond. All you have to do is bring up that number directly to their face and show it to them, and they'll flip out because that's the numbers they're hiding. So they have their bar number for the state, and then they have another number called an ISLN number. And it's really easy to find that.
How? I've called the Secretary of State. Can I get it online?
There's a website that all you have to do is go to it and type in their name, and it comes up.
What does
Are you
ISLN stand for?
serious? Yeah, what does that stand for?
The ISLN number is the international state legislative numbers for bars. And it means that they literally are an international foreign bar association. They belong to it. And what that means is each time they belong to this international foreign bar association, and you can prove it by the ISLN number, all you have to do is turn in an FARA investigation because they're operating as a foreign entity on American soil.
Okay. Do you have that website, Lovett?
And 99 out of 100 times, they do not put their license in to be a foreign agent, a registered agent on the United States soil. And that's how you could disqualify them.
Exactly.
Oh my God. I didn't know that.
And
I did not know that.
These courts are not common law courts. They're not courts of record. There is not a single court of record. There is courts of record in the United States, but there is not in any court system. So everything they do, you have to challenge their jurisdiction over it. And this is where I'm at right now, because I tried to be nice and I tried to tell them, look, I know you've got these bonds. There's 6 of them that you've taken out on me. And I will swap positions with you. I will be your trustee, and I will make you the beneficiary, and I will give you the money if you just get rid of the damn case. Well, they don't want to do that. So basically, I'm saying, okay, because I'm the grantor, you took it out of my account. So now here's how it's going to go. Turn in 56 forms with the IRS and literally make them the fiduciary, and then start filing against them and turn their bond, turn your money back into your hands, and actually make them the trustees, because that's who they are. And it literally states so in the laws of all states that all government officers are the trustees for the beneficiaries of the state.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I think my okay. They, how can I, all right. They have, so I let me bypass. I won't try to get that. I'll just go to the website you just recommended. I'll get that from you. But I found out she's under a blanket bond. Is that any different, or does that mean anything?
Oh, okay. Now let me explain blanket bonds. I did bonds for the win. I understand these damn blanket bonds. Okay, so we were going after school boards during bonds for the win. We were going after the governors and everybody else. Well, what a blanket bond means is it's in a pool. It's called a pool bond. So you could have between 4 to 7 different insurance companies listed on that pool. So basically you can't go after the damn bond, because literally it belongs to risk management, and risk management has moved from risk management to directly under the Attorney General of the state. So if you go to get the bond from risk management or to file a claim at risk management for the bond, immediately the Attorney General will send you a letter. They will not give it to you. So the only way you can do this is go after their ISLN bond. And the website's name is martindale.com. And all you do is bring up martindale.com, and they have a search bar on the homepage, and you type the name of the person and you search, and then it'll come up with different names if there's more than one. Look at the one and it comes up with the county and the state. So look at for your county and state, click on it, scroll down the page, and you'll find out everything they went through. The school they attended, blah, 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 when they got their, graduated and everything. And then they'll give you their ISLN number.
Okay, and that's MARTINDALE.com.
Yeah, Dale, MARTINDALE, Martindale.
Got it.
Yep.
Well,
It's a wonderful tool.
I see. I mean, I have gone, and I was fussing, and Mr. Floyd and Miss Lisa were so wonderful, because if they find my husband out of retaliation, $159,000 for nothing. They have fired me and refused to respond. They have not responded to my attorney, for my union attorney, to why I've been terminated. So it's a lot. It's millions involved in this. I get it, but I don't understand how they could have done this and no one is saying anything. And then the attorneys are afraid. I understand the process. I've worked with them years, and no one wants to fight the giant. So I will do it this way. I've been warned twice that they're scared they're going to hurt me. I'm not afraid of that at all. But it's just been a very hurtful process. And I can't believe the level of corruption at the state level. So it's just unbelievable. So I really appreciate this knowledge and this time. Are you laughing?
I'm laughing, but
Yeah.
you don't understand. We appreciate you coming on and verifying everything that we've known is going on in the background. We just can't grasp it and put it out here on Front Street for everybody to go, here, there it is.
Yeah, I want to ask my attorney. Yeah, I'll give you case numbers. I called him. I'm waiting on him to call me back. What they do, and like I said, I process for the writs. A writ is, what a writ is. Writs of distribution, writs of possessions, and writs of execution. I've watched them confiscate property and then turn around and sell. The sheriff was in on it with me, just being honest. I won't give any names because they're still there and I want to protect them from that. Sell the property for $1. How do you obtain 8 acres of land for $1 and give it to your attorney friend? This is what they were doing. They were auctioning this off.
I can tell you how after digging into a case in Florida. She had a $1.5 million home. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen them, the 650,000, it was the house and the land and the property and the assets on it. They breached contract and took it because the family was wealthy. The attorneys got paid. And even, I mean, I know as of right now, a gentleman that I got an attorney friend who was a judge to help him. They took $450,000. They said the judgment was $8 million. The estate was transferred to probate, and they are supposed to give this money back. I'm waiting to see if this happens because I believe he was also a part of the reason. He was a friend of the judge, the attorney that took the property. So it was a lot of corruption, and they did not want me to be deputy clerk over Mobile County with, I guess, integrity. So yeah, it's been going on.
Let me try to explain a lot of how they're doing this. Usually with all these home loans, there's certain states, a lot of states that will use property deeds or deeds of trust. So when they file the loan or they file the loan paper, they'll give these people a deed of trust to sign. So that deed of trust does not go to their trust. It goes to, we don't even know who, somebody in California or somebody in another state. And
the last one go to Texas. You're right. That is absolutely right. And I don't quite understand all the logistics of it, but how can they do this for so long? The sheriff between us left the week before they terminated me. She said they've been doing this for 20, she was there 25, she was there 23 years. She said they were doing it before she got there. And they've been taking property like this forever, and no one has ever done anything because a lot of people have their hand in the cookie jar, and then they can turn around and sell it back. And a lot of these people are just not knowledgeable on how to fight, or nor have the funds to fight. And 3 of them, I helped the granddaughter write the letter. It was just a simple paragraph. Would you please set aside judgment? I humbly request another court hearing. I was not served. And the judge gave their homes back instead of paying the attorney $5,500 to file a case that he was not going to do anything on anyway because his friend was involved. So that was the type of hurtful things I had to deal with. These people are just good people who worked hard for what they have, and they had to get me out of the way. So now,
real estate is the biggest scam there is. Real estate is the biggest scam there is. I just helped a guy in Arizona. And we figured out that where his home sits, the state thought they owned that property. They haven't owned that property, or they gave it back in 1936 before they became a state of the union. So they don't own where his land sits. So he was able to, trace all this stuff, and he found the original deed of trust that they filed in the clerk's office for $10 in his name. But then somebody else came behind him and filed another one, and this is how they work. Anybody can go in and just file a deed of trust, and anybody can just take over the deed, and all they do is put $10 on it. Transfer it for $10.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How can they, my question is, because I don't know, it's called a dynasty trust. I'm still learning all of that. I don't quite understand. It's so much in probate and circuit that it's just not, they don't discuss. But these people have, is there any way once their property's been taken, they can obtain the property back? Even when the judge files dismiss with prejudice, is there any way they can?
The only thing they can honestly do, because it was taken illegally, is go in and file a mechanic's lien on their home. for as many years as they've been in their home. So they've done the maintenance on the property for X number of years that they've owned that home and paid it off. So they can literally file a mechanics lien, a UCC1 against the home. That means that the mechanics lien has got to be paid off before they can even sell the home again or even transfer the home again.
And they will file that in probate.
Yeah, a lot of
think
times,
so.
you know, well, you file the UCC1 loan, you know, liens against things.
You can
They have
file
those-
that, you can file that mechanics lien right with the county. And because this is what you have to do. You know, you've been the sole proprietor of all the maintenance, all the security. So you've been there 24/7 for
Yeah.
however many days,
What don't you
years,
understand?
whatever it
Okay.
has to be. You have the ability to put that mechanics lien on with the county, and then you're the superior lien holder at that.
Okay. Well, I have 3 people I have to reach out to because they lost everything and no one did anything because a lot of the attorneys had their hands in the jar. And one piece of property had been in the family's, I guess, trust for 50 years, 60 years, well, 80 years because my grandmother purchased it. Then they took the house and the 1 acre, 40 acres. They now have 39 acres. And the Judge Patterson Circuit Court, Mobile, Alabama, allowed this to happen on a publication, and they won by default. Did nothing. Did absolutely nothing. So I will make those calls and have these, at least the 3, if I can locate them, to see what they can do at this point, because it's just unreal. It's just unreal, and no one cares.
Well,
Well, the whole
No
problem
one-
is none of these courts have jurisdiction. Not a single court has jurisdiction over anyone. And right now, I mean, seriously, I've been digging into the jurisdiction part of this whole thing. And I'm
That
just
I'm
pushing
trying to
back.
understand
their
too,
face.
because they don't. I don't. Maybe I can learn from you on that jurisdiction. I'm still learning that. They. I had a Mr. Johnson, who the attorney sold his property. He was in bankruptcy, and they still sold the property. I don't understand how they did that. No one did anything, and he lost his property. So it's just been understand. Is there an area I could go and learn about jurisdiction, or are you more? I know you're more knowledgeable about that than I am.
Oh, I just have to start digging and digging. Maybe.
Okay.
Go
So there's so much there that like my mind is like on fire with just things. I'm like, okay, this is what you should do. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. When you get your house, okay, your initial.
I can't hear you, Dan.
Oh, sounds like somebody's a little loud.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, there we go. All right, so
Perfect.
there's fraud from the beginning of the mortgage process. The moment that you sign your application and they take your promissory note, they monetize that behind your back, okay? And so that note pays off the house. The house has been paid off within the first 45 days of you signing that application. The bank didn't come to you with anything. They can't loan their assets. It's already been proven by modern money mechanics. They can't loan their assets. So where do they get the deposit from? They get the deposit from that promissory note because we, in our natural born standing, we are the creditors.
Mhm.
The moment they get our signature, they then monetize that instrument and the house is paid off. So that becomes fraud right then and there because the bank has issued not 1 cent in your property. But like you were saying before, when you don't pay said things like taxes or whatever else, they then kind of come in and say, oh, now we have an interest in the property. But see, then there's also the fraud. There's the fraud where there's no law that states that we have to register any of our assets with them. Not your house, not your car, not your children, none of that stuff. There is no law. Now they might ask and say you need to or you should, but that's an ask. You don't have to register your property with them, but the moment you do, you bring them in as trustees or we'll just say non-financial investors into your scenario. Same thing with your marriage, anything where you're asking them for permission or a license. Supreme Court has already ruled that we can ignore those things with impunity. So you can actually sue them for all of that across the board, but you're gonna have to take them to federal district court. You're not gonna get any help on the lower levels because those are all
No, they
legislative.
won't even talk about it. That is absolutely right. They won't even talk about it.
So when it comes to jurisdiction, okay, the short version of this is that basically everything out of Washington, D.C. is foreign, though they are masquerading using our stuff. Every corporation, if it's a corporation, corporation is Latin for body animation. Corpus body, ation is to animate. So we are animating dead bodies that are considered foreign to the United States of America. Now, they play it so close to the chest that the term the United States has three different definitions. One is the body politic, one is the geographical United States of America, and the other one is the corporation known as the United States, but it's actually foreignly owned, operated, and held. Anything under that foreign one, the state of, the corporations that go to them, they've all incorporated up the line through Washington, D.C. So that is a completely foreign operation. That's what she was talking about before, Ann. So that means that by jurisdictional.
The court district of Illinois, the court district of anything with an of is foreign.
Yep. So
Every court is
basically it means not, in other words, for our terminology, it means not real or of a private jurisdiction. So these lower courts went to the upper courts and said, hey, we will take care of all of the little stuff on the bottom, tickets and little minor things, just only the stuff that's registered to us. And we'll deal with it to keep all that stuff from clogging up the upper courts. So what they're doing is all legislative or in-house. It's incorporation. It's within the foreign corporate United States. It's not operating onto the federal district level, the Supreme Court, any of those things. That's actually judicial. So the stuff from the upper courts, that's judicial jurisdiction, meaning absolute. You can go by case law. They go by things that have already been settled. You're protected by the Constitution of the United States for the United States of America, excuse me. But anything down here on the lower end, it's all buddy inside what they call a good old boy inside the corporation. And they all have their hands in each other's pockets.
This is true. I've seen that. I was so hurt. I called 17 attorneys. I've worked with all 17 in some capacity in the court, and 5 of them told me, Anita, I got to feed my family. So I'm not an attorney. I don't know case law, but they didn't think I would file pro se. And yes, I know you have to amend. You have so many days. I was just trying to buy time. I have to amend it by next week, but I don't have the case law. So that's what I'm looking for now. I'm suing circuit court for race discrimination and retaliation. The core of it was me helping these people keep their homes or sending them to attorneys to file motions to the judge for them to keep their homes. So that's just, I wanted to retire as deputy clerk. And no, I'm not, I'm learning. But the whole thing was I would not turn my head and let it go for a lot of the stuff that I saw going on. And they couldn't say, they said I was delusional. And once I slapped them in the face with case numbers, the game was over. And they said I shouldn't have done as much because
they cannot fire you or terminate you because of that. Now they can do what they want to do. That doesn't mean that they're right.
Right.
But what it means is that they will be found guilty if you know where to push the issue. And right there would be them depriving you of your rights, them having no rules saying that you can't do what you've done. At best, if I was going to fight it, say I was against you, I would say, well, we don't have a rule against that, but she was doing it, let's say, on corporate time. But if they don't have a rule against that, then all you can say is, well, I did it during my lunchtime or private time or whatever else.
Well, what I did, what they did is because now this is how it exactly went down. September 9th was my last day. But they're trying to change it to October 31st because I was still receiving checks. They didn't put it, they put it in the system late. What they did, they've transferred now 5.5 years in circuit court division. They moved me to domestic relations division. And then after the process intensified, I had 8 write-ups in 9 months. They tried to make me look incompetent. I don't do my work. And I'm like, I've never had a write-up, period. Now, all of a sudden, I'm incompetent. I don't know my job. So that was the tool that they used to terminate me. But my attorney said that they can't because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's they're going after you
But
because
the whole
of
thing is,
the
you walk
administrative
into,
process.
the whole thing
Huh?
is, you guys walk into court and you're not in a common law court, and these are never
No.
common law courts. You are a defendant. You know, you're
Right.
you're automatically found guilty. I'm not kidding you. That person who
Yeah.
is literally for the plaintiff or literally charging you, he literally
For
is your
what they
attorney.
did.
No, he's both
They-
sides. He works for both sides of
Okay.
the court.
Yes,
he
that's right.
definitely works
That's
for
right.
both sides of the court.
Well,
And your lawyer
that's
is
it.
there just to make sure that you do the right thing. So when you walk into a court of law and the first thing they say, what do you plead? Are you guilty or not guilty? You just say, no, I'm innocent. Because guilty or not guilty, you are your own jury. You have already done your own trial.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
this
Okay.
is the whole
Innocent.
thing. Yeah, because
Okay.
in a court of law, a lawyer cannot talk. The accuser has to step forward and literally bring it to a jury of 12. And he has to
So
present.
the burden of
his-
proof is on the plaintiff. I mean, the
It's-
burden of proof is on them.
Yeah, and it's not even
Okay.
him, the lawyer who has to bring forward their burden of proof. It's the person you have physically injured. So who have you injured? Who is the person
Okay.
that is hurt? This is my question. Who have you injured? Have you injured a person?
Nobody.
Have you attacked a
No.
person? Have you hurt his property? Have you burned his property?
No.
Where is the
No,
person
ma'am.
that has come forward that will swear an affidavit under a penalty and perjury that you did all of this to you? All of
I
this
see
to
what you're
them.
saying.
Yeah,
and they need a signed,
Well-
written, notarized complaint.
exactly. And
Mm.
there's nothing.
Okay.
They trump up
Uh,
these charges. I mean,
Well, they
I'm
have-
doing these stupid traffic courts. I mean, seriously, the guy puts the stuff
Yeah.
in the traffic court. Next thing you know, he's in a criminal court. Next thing you know, they're filing 6 different cases under 6 different case numbers. They don't register anything in the court system. And all it says is, issued an arrest warrant, issued an arrest warrant, issued an arrest warrant. Now go look for warrants and figure out what warrants are. Warrants are a security bond or an indemnity bond, and they have to be registered with the Secretary of Treasury or the Secretary of State, and they don't register them.
No, they're bench warrants and they're issued inside. They have no judicial capacity, no judicial fire, no stick. See, the whole thing is that when you go to any of these lower courts, the presumption is
Mhm.
that you are either a bar member or a trustee, a public trustee. So before you even get there,
Okay.
they're expecting you to be in that capacity. And when you go into the courtroom, and especially if you go past the swinging door, that's the bar. You've admitted that you're a bar member. So they don't have,
Right.
they can treat you any kind of way that they want on these lower courts because you have not rebutted their presumptions. It's like if you walk into hell, they're all thinking you're a demon like them because I kind of tell it's like in the old days with the kings and the queens, only
Yeah.
a pauper would walk up to another king's gate unannounced and just show up. But a king or a queen, before they get there, so there's no hassle, they send in, like what I do for mine, I would send in a writ. The writ goes in their special appearance, which means I'm not subjecting myself to your jurisdiction, but I'm come there to settle and discharge the matter. Because like you said, it's all about jurisdiction and it's all, so I protect my standing with this writ before I even go in there by special appearance, let them know I am not a trustee. I'm not your employee when I'm here. I am not a government agent. I'm a private natural person, special appearance, here to discharge and settle the matter brought against my estate. Once I send that in, they already know I'm going to be a hassle and they don't want me there. They want me out of there as fast as possible. They
Mr.
don't want-
Wolf, may I have your contact, if you don't mind, contact phone number and Miss Ann's contact phone number?
Oh, you don't want to contact me? I live in Tahiti.
Oh, okay.
It
All
so sucks to
right.
be
have
you,
a
Ann.
very expensive phone bill if you try to call me.
Okay.
Unless
Mr.
you
Wolf,
have
are
an
you?
iPhone or Telegram. Those are the two
Okay.
communications I use. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to get an iPhone because it looks like what I have to do is going to be compatible with an iPhone. So it's just I'm trying to learn all of this as fast as possible because, like I said, I'm not an attorney, but I have to file. So I've already filed, and once I get the complaint done right in federal court against them for what they've done to me, then I think the rest will be a lot easier. But what my attorney upset me with last week before the holiday break, he wanted to put a stay, which is a pause on the appeal for termination. And I told him, I said, I've been doing this for a minute. The only thing you have to do is file a motion to abandon or to override. It's not override, set aside the termination. He said, oh. Then he said, well, can we put the federal case on hold until we get this finalized because they can mess it up. At that point, I lost trust. Was I being sensitive to lose trust in him that way? Because I think he's playing both sides.
He is playing both sides. He's
definitely playing both sides. But you have to remember that when they and I've read their book, their manual, when they join up, they take an oath to the bar, the British Accreditation Registry, and their maxims state that they owe their allegiance to the bar first. Okay, so to that franchise first. Then it's to each other, meaning other bar members. Then thirdly, to their clients. Okay, and any point in time, any of those, at any point in time, if any of those conflict, it always goes back to protecting the bar and then another one. So between them, they won't tell you because they owe you nothing, no matter how much money you give them. Right. So they will talk to each other privately and say, well, how do you want to proceed with this? You know,
that's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, that's what it is. Seen it 1,000 times. Literally, the last time I stepped foot in court when I was young and dumb, the judge literally, I beat the attorney in the hallway before going into court. And the judge asked him, Mr. Lovett, are you a lawyer? You walk, talk, sound, and handle yourself like a lawyer. And how did you beat my prosecutor before even coming into court? And I said, well, I'm glad you asked. And then he goes, you know what? Nope. Whatever you guys have figured out, I don't care. Case dismissed. Have a good day. I'm walking out. And he goes, Mr. Lovett, so you do this for fun or in the private? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you understand this? I was like, yeah, it's not hard. He goes, well, we would love to have somebody like you on our side.
And
it's because I read their books. I know how they move. It's not complicated. Once again, everything that we do is all about jurisdiction at the end of the day. Who owns what? And when you give them, you know, that's why they always ask for a signature. They'll always ask for an ID, because where did you get the ID from? One of their departments. We are committing fraud. Contracting every time.
Presumptions.
So, presumptions, assumptions, and contracts and jurisdiction. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get into the real nasty side of it, Anita, you know, they want you to pay something, right? And every single form of payment that they require is actually illegal according to UCC code. Check is illegal. I mean, all these things that they want you to do through banking, they're all illegal.
Yep.
The only true way for you to pay an actual debt is to go to your Sesta KV trust and move those funds to set off that debt. That's the only legal means that you have. But yet
Yep.
Well,
they're
I'm going to be
they're
purchasing
propagating this
some more,
system that is completely illegal.
It's
and
all
they've been
supposed to be
doing it.
discharged.
So
Yeah.
They've been doing it.
how many bonds were you responsible for opening up and taking out on each one of these court cases that came through? Because we do know there's the 24, 25, 25A bonds, the GSA bonds.
The GSA, General Services Administration, standard
And we
form
know there's
24,
twen-
25, 25A.
and we know the 273s, 274, and 275s, which are the penal code bonds or the prison bonds.
Yeah, those are the
Oh, my
Miller
God.
Act reinsurance.
Most of the time,
Oh.
they're double dipping. They'll have you pay cash out of your pocket for the court case, but the court case itself has a bond that's making the money. And it's a conflict of
my
interest
God.
because the prosecutor and the judge and all the rest of them usually have an interest or an interested stake in the courthouse and what's going on. So because they're part of the bar, how can members who have pledged to protect each other be going
Yes.
against you? That's a conflict of interest. How are they getting away with it? It's because these lower courts are legislative and they are, it's all a buddy system. It's not judicial. Judicially, they couldn't do that. They're doing it legislatively because we haven't admitted to that.
That's exactly how it's happening. The attorney was 5 attorneys that, and the judge is crooked too. He is a probate judge here. They took, and his friend, they run the ad in the paper. He does the auctions. They're making millions.
Yeah.
It's so much that they're doing. Yeah, and then they're over these estates, which is another money pool. I've watched them take houses to satisfy judgments on legal fees. And I'm like, are you serious? But they've done it. I mean, it's just, it's so much. I'm just trying to figure out the best approach. I have to talk to him tomorrow, my attorney tomorrow, who's the union, who is,
Fire
as you
him.
said,
Fire him.
Oh.
Seriously, he's not going to do anything except screw up your case. And then they're going to pull you in court saying that you are representing yourself. No, you do not represent yourself. According to the 6th Amendment, you have a chance to walk into the court and to plead your case. And you have a chance to receive a counsel who is not a bar attorney, who will not represent you in the courtroom, but will come to the courtroom to aid and assist you or aid and abet
Friend of the court.
during your case, a friend of the court, you
Yeah.
know, and
No,
they don't
okay.
like those. They don't like those because they're going to keep saying that you are, what is it, Judge Je suis or
Pro se.
something like that.
So
Yeah, pro se. You're pro se. Once they tell you you're pro se, that means you're a bar attorney.
yeah,
And
you
they
want to go
literally-
in sui juris.
Yeah, they've literally
I
put
wonder,
you into
so
a
don't
bar
say-
situation.
Well, with my union attorney is the one who supposedly is questioning my termination. But like I said, like you're saying, he's working for both sides. He just said that we would have to go back before the judge for the appeal process. So I don't have a problem letting him go because he's done nothing really. And I can file the motion myself to terminate to dismiss the termination. I can file that. That's not hard. That's basically just a generalized letter a request for them to set aside the termination. And they want to know when I would try to come back. But like I said, I don't trust any of them at this point. And I'm trying to learn fast. So I'm going to still need you guys because it's just so much. A friend of mine asked me, would I set up an LLC and help people with this here locally? Just rent it's an office downtown. I said, I'm not an attorney.
You know
and
what?
I'm not a
Neither
judge.
am I. Neither is any of us here. What we
Yeah,
did
you're
is,
better than an attorney.
yeah.
Okay,
We don't need
Okay.
to be an attorney because we don't need
Okay.
that. You know,
You
An
could-
literally,
attorney is
Okay.
one who only attorneys property from another.
Yeah.
yes, sir. Okay, okay. Well,
Attorney means to
I'm
turn
gonna
over,
have
so
to.
you can call yourself an attorney in facts, you're turning over facts. But in general, you're just, you are, I mean, you're actually better than an attorney, better than a lawyer, so sometimes when I do help people, I'll go by attorney in fact, and they can't say that's them, okay, because like I said, a turn just means to turn over something, and you're turning over
Got
facts.
you. Well, would you want to? Would you be so kind to give me rule of law where I can mention and write in this week? I have to amend my complaint in federal district court against circuit court, and I don't have. No one is giving me rule of law. I've tried to look it up. They closed the law library. I can't get those records, and then I have no dummy cases to go by. None. And I'm like, are you serious? And no, I cannot. And these are friends that have turned on. They haven't turned on me. They just don't want to get the smoke. And I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Do you have access to rule of law with discrimination and what they're doing? And I would bring this up in
Power
federal
of
court
Law,
because that's
95. There's a whole section, Anita. Look up
Mhm.
18 USC. 18 USC.
That's
I
all
have
you
got-
need.
Yeah.
I've got 139 pages of codes and stuff that deal with all the color of law and everything they're doing to people. Literally, I'll send it to Floyd and I'll have Floyd forward it off to you. And it's a
thank
huge
you.
page. It has everything in it, everything. And it even tells you what the fines and the penalties and charges are inside of this document.
Okay.
I think it's 138 pages. It's all you need. It's
Yeah.
everything is in there. That's it. That's all you need to go after them. Just start
And
reading
frankly-
it.
Okay.
If it applies to you,
And
put it down. That's how it
Okay.
works.
Anita,
Okay. I will do-
there's very good things that you can do just by asking questions. A
Yes,
letter
sir.
of rogatory, do not make it more than 25 questions, but you can put forth a letter of rogatory asking all court members to answer these questions. And if they cannot, then, write in the language of that. If you can't answer this question or provide any proof or blah, 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 then dismiss the case. These are things that you need to
Okay.
put it, because it's really, it's a contract that you're writing with them, but very poignant
Okay.
questions like, what is your EIN number? Court? Because they're actually a business entity. They have no representation from our government.
Oh my
When they
God.
don't want to give that to you, that's where I get a little skillful. And like in my case, I just went
Okay.
right to the Treasury Inspector General's tax assessment division and said, hey, all these people have stolen my identity. They're using my estate without my permission. As the executor for the estate, I must protect all property of the estate, and they have my property. And you just simply write that in an affidavit to the Treasury Inspector General's tax assessment division, because guess what? That court is still a corporation. They still owe taxes on everything that they have, quote unquote, charged you, because they are the debtor. Oh, and by the way, if you want some information, we have all the
Yes.
bankruptcies for all of these courts throughout the whole entire nation. We could find that for you real quick. And most of them
And could it-
were in 2017. Okay. So all these state
Okay.
courts filed for bankruptcy, which automatically makes them the debtor. Right?
Yes, yes.
Oh, I
Yeah.
gotta get
Legally,
with
they
you with
can't
some
take any
court.
of these
I need some.
actions because
I
they're
need
under
some.
active bankruptcy. So there's all kinds of
Oh
good things
my
that you can
God.
put together if you want
Well,
some help.
you guys just confirmed I'm gonna go into business.
Well, I'll tell you,
Instead of
I've got a lot of templates because I help quite a few people. I think I've got 14 active cases right at the moment.
I will give
with-
you.
I
Yes.
will, seriously, I've got some templates that I'm working on. Jurisdiction
You will.
templates, challenging jurisdiction. letter of regorgatory,
Derogatory.
everything.
Yeah.
Derogatory.
Letters of derogatory.
I've
Yes,
done
ma'am.
all of these, and this is what I help people with. And, you know, I take on too many cases for me to do everything by myself, but I still have to write out a ton of stuff for people. And I will send them all over to Floyd. Floyd will forward them all off to your email.
I will get my post office box or give you my email, not my email. It's my, if you want, yeah, I'll take it email. I'll take it however I can get it. Mr.
Okay.
Wolf,
Yes.
can I get your, do you mind if I have your phone number?
Yeah, that's totally fine. Actually, I just sent you
being
a,
recorded. We're being recorded. You might not want to give it over the recording because I
Well,
don't know.
I'll give it.
Oh, yes. ma'am.
I'll give it to you, Anita. I'll forward it.
Yeah, thank you, Doc. You guys are giving so much good information, and I did not record, so I will definitely be trying to get all of this down. But how can I would like, the house will be paid off soon, and I would like to put my house, I was told that, and from the little bit I know, putting it in a trust would keep them basically from having the state from having any jurisdiction with it. My car, my house, and I think Mr. Floyd had told me about the I don't do questions process. So it's so much that I'm trying. I don't know how well that works.
You can join the trust class. I teach all that in the trust class. Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. Is there a website for the trust class?
Yeah, the fearlessfloydshow.com.
Is who, baby?
The
fearlessfloydshow.com. Right here behind me.
Oh, Fearless Floyd. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's you, Mr. Floyd. Okay, I'll join that today. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Oh my God, I've learned a tremendous amount in such a short time.
You're gonna want several trusts opened. You're gonna want to layer your trust. You're gonna want to have a revocable living trust that is your pass-through trust. You're gonna want an irrevocable trust. Then you're going to want some express trusts for your vehicles and stuff like that, because you don't want your vehicle in your regular trust in case it's a liability. So yeah, you're gonna have to open up several different trusts and different capacities to hold on to this stuff. And you can have just a regular irrevocable land trust that will lock it up. So if we leave it as a revocable, then they're looking at it as something you can terminate anytime you want. And it's an extension of your person. But if we make it irrevocable, it means that you will find two trustees outside of your immediate family to run it.
Right.
And what that does is it automatically, when you're dead, then you're dead and it closes. But on a revocable trust, it becomes irrevocable once you die. Yeah.
Okay. But I could pass the
you can pass the land. Yeah, you can grab the land deed and pass the land deed.
Okay.
So basically what happens with banks is literally because it's on a loan, they're not going to say a lot to you if you put it in a revocable trust. They'll allow you to sneak it into the revocable trust. But if you want to put it in an irrevocable trust, there is a clause inside most contracts. It's like a quick clause or quick pay claim clause inside of most contracts, which is totally illegal. What it'll do is it will facilitate the final payments of your home and literally push you to pay off the balance of your home quickly. So it might have to go into an irrevocable, it might have to go into an irrevocable trust first if you want to get it out of it. Yeah.
I'll do that. Is there can I prepare this trust or do I need an attorney? If I had an example.
Oh, no. Join the trust class. We got all the documents done.
Got that covered.
Got that covered.
I'll join that today. I'll be purchasing a brand new iPhone desktop next week. So I'm gonna have to work. So I'm gonna have to do this amended complaint in district federal court. I'm trying to get that done no later than Friday or Tuesday.
Just to help you a little bit with some beginner's language, right? You don't want to file a complaint because anybody can complain about anything. You have a claim,
Uh-huh.
young lady.
Correct.
You have a claim.
Okay. Claim.
That carries more weight than any complaint, because if complaint, you're just complaining. Well, I'm complaining. No, you've got a claim against these people and file it as
So with,
such.
because I filed a vague
Notice of
complaint.
claim. Yeah.
Notice
Notice
of
of claim.
Thank you.
So
Yeah, amended to notice of claim. And then I also
Mhm.
learned anytime you write a motion, you better write a damn order to tell the judge what to do, because he's stupid and has no idea what to do.
Right. And that's the truth.
They only work
they
on
do
orders. Yep.
So
That's the truth. My
So-
judge, same way. Judge York was my judge. He worked in circuit court, or he did when before I left. And we would have to make sure he got the dummy complaint, the dummy motion, and he just copied and signed. That's all they did.
so the way it kind of works,
That's
Anita, is that
Huh?
when we utilize their tools, okay, they're all
Mhm.
caps name, and I'll go into that in a second.
Mhm.
We become their employees, and our natural standing as born, living, breathing beings. All right, our names are in all lowercase, which is capitis
Mhm.
minimus. Capitis minimus is Latin for lowercase lettering. When we're in that position, we are actually their bosses. Okay, we are their bosses. We tell them what to do. And the judge, if you want to call him a judge, who's usually pretty much a magistrate,
Uh-huh.
is actually the trustee. So we are the executor and the beneficiary of this trust. That's what we're in with them. So what then happens is when we use their stuff, we swap positions and we go underneath them. And now we become literally the janitor of their corporation, where they can tell us what to do.
Oh my.
So when you look at the name, this is where it all starts. This is where the jurisdiction starts. Everybody who doesn't know this needs to know this. So when we were born, our parents gave the hospital our name in lowercase lettering. And the hospital then took it and said, okay, fill out your social security, fill out this from the state. Okay. The hospital initially gave us a certificate of live birth, which means we're a living being. We then sent off one of those copies to the state of, which is the corporation. They then, through the Social Security Administration, did what's known as transmutation. That means to take an element from one status, and change it into something else. So we went from having a standing like a man on the land to a status of an entity. Once they did that, and our name in all capitalized letters is Capitis Demutia Maxima, which means your name in all capitalized letters in Latin, in the Black Law's Dictionary, means a partial or total loss of your freedoms and rights. Total loss.
Oh my.
So that means you have either one right-ish or none at all as far as they're concerned. The moment, now ask yourself, what don't you have with your name in all capitalized letters? Your driver's license, your name on your house. But see, when you got your house, on the paperwork had your name in all capitalized letters that they have co-ownership of. Now that means that you literally bought that house and put it underneath into that trust, okay, underneath their trust in their jurisdiction. So that stuff legally on paper ain't even yours. And that's where Ann and Floyd come in, as because you're removing it from their trust that you are the surety over into something different, which is why, like for me, I would never have a trust named James C. Lovett's Trust. I would use James Charles of the Lovett Nation or Lovett family. Anything different than that, otherwise they can assume with assumptions that it's still underneath that trust and they have jurisdiction on it. So that's what they do to us. When we use their stuff, we become their property, their federalized employees.
Oh my. So you agree, because I was trying to learn about this, and I thank the Lord that I hit the jackpot. They were saying that our Social Security is an actual bond, Social Security numbers.
Everything
is that true?
Everything that they issue with the QSIP number is a security. That's what that means.
Anita, look on the back of your Social Security card. Read it very carefully. This card
Okay.
does not belong to you. It is the property of the Social Security Administration. And if we want it back, we will take it back.
Yep.
Oh my
That's-
God.
That card, the card physically itself, the name on the card and the number are not ours. We are they want to make us the responsible surety over it. But at the end of the day, educational information only, anything associated with that name and that particular number, if it's their card, isn't it their debt for discharging?
Oh my.
Okay, and Anita, you were,
That's
did you do
crazy.
probates? Did you do probates in the probate courts?
But I didn't do probate because they wouldn't let me transfer. I only did circuit court. I worked downstairs around the tickets for a few minutes, but most of my
Okay,
time was
so
in
let
circuit
me
court
ask
and,
you a
and domestic
question.
relations. Yes,
Birth
ma'am.
certificates, are they not under seal? Is
No,
not
they're
those
not.
two? Yeah, they are. Look at a birth certificate and look at the two seals on the birth certificate. It's considered under seal. The birth certificates have been through probate.
Oh.
When
Well,
you
if it's
did,
under, and I
when the
understand what you're
parents,
saying.
when the parents did not answer within 7 days of the live birth, when the live birth notice was sent, that's why the registration date and the date of birth are two different. They're anywhere from 7 to 30 days difference in time. Because when the parents didn't answer, and go to the registrar's office and literally fill out their own paperwork, whatever they got from the hospital was considered a dead entity because nobody claimed it. So immediately goes to the circuit court, probate court, and
That's
the birth
right.
certificates becomes under seal. So you're
And then
considered
they
a
send
dead
us a vital
under
certificate.
seal.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep, to register
Well,
means to abandon. That's what their books say. Registering anything means you're abandoning it. So we were abandoned. So when we were at the hospital, we got the
Oh
initial,
my God.
we got the initial born on date form, if you want to call it that, with the baby feet print on there. But they don't want us to have
Right.
that. So they offer us, our parents, oh, we can buy it for $100 or $200. Parents go, no, I don't want that. Just, I want whatever's free. The hospital then keeps that. That goes up the line to a company called Unidroit, and from Unidroit it goes to the Vatican, so that the Pope can say, look at all these souls we have brought you, because where do they ink you at? The soles of your feet. The hospital then issues you a private receipt of the transaction called a certificate of live birth. Notice the words,
Oh my God.
certificate of, okay, so meaning somebody who doesn't have the authority to do this is giving you a mock title. Certificate of, so mock
Okay.
title
Yes,
to your live birth. Now the state of issues you a birth certificate because Congress said that they can't copy the same documents. They have to flip the word so that it shows a jurisdictional difference. So they then say birth, then certificate, okay? But that birth certificate means that you've been abandoned to the state of, and you are now an employee because slavery has been outlawed. So they can't own you
Right.
directly. They turn you into an employee, which now means that you are a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, which is a taxable entity or corporation. And we've battled
Which
the
you don't even
BOS.
qualify to be, by the way.
Right.
Not only
Born in
that, but
Washington,
you are a
DC.
twin. You were born a twin. Think
They-
about
they-
it. There
Are you
was,
serious?
you were born a
Oh,
twin. Your
yes, you
live
are.
body and the afterbirth. When
The
they
placenta.
cut the cord, the placenta, when they cut the cord, the placenta died. That's the registration you're getting at the registrar's office is the dead placenta.
What do they call that when they keep this placenta attached? They fight you from that. I'm also a doula. I didn't understand that. They don't want you to have the placenta, but a lotus birth, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
A lotus birth.
Nor the
To
umbilical
keep the
cord.
placenta. Yes,
They don't want
but
none of
they
that.
No,
made
they
it so
send that to
hard
the
to-
Vatican, you guys.
They well,
Seriously, they
because
send that to the Vatican. It's
there's
gross.
Oh, I believe
there's
that.
healing properties in there. That you are
Yes.
supposed to be connected because the child actually gets a final boost of protective materials from that. So they cut it right away to take that. I don't want to go too deep into this, but let's just say there's a lot more money than you would think in those materials. And
Well, I thought of that when you said the twin and the placenta.
yeah, those are harvested materials. What we thought
Okay.
was waste materials, those are sold, and people are benefiting from them. So your waste materials are making the money. Just like when you're born, the hospital gets paid for bringing you into their system as a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen. They get paid for
Docking
that.
station.
Yep. The DLC, the doctor, the DLC, the doctor, DLC stands for Declaration of Conformity. You are being conformed into this new world. And everything they do is maritime or admiralty on the water jurisdiction. So the doctor, the docket, the dock, where all these new products and materials come in from a ship. The placenta, the birth canal is the waterway. Okay, and who does a baby first meet? A doctor. So you're being declared by Declaration of Conformity. They've even bought some of these courthouses from the top, designed as ships, because the judge is really a magistrate 9 times out of 10, and has no judicial power. They're not licensed, and when you go into their courtroom, they are considered admirals of their ship, and the courthouse is in dry dock. Yeah. So they can do whatever they want to do, because they're not held by legislative standards, or excuse me, judicial standards, but legislative.
Oh my! You guys have no idea what you just unleashed.
Oh yeah. Let me back up a little bit, because hang on. Let me back up a little bit, because we said something and Anita did not catch it. It went right over her head, and she is like, she was in the middle of it and couldn't see it. So I'm going to bring it to your attention, Anita. And when you hear this, you're going to go, oh my God. Okay.
Please.
You were basically a registrar, correct? Accepting the writs.
Yes. I take the writs, process the paperwork, send the sheriff out to put people out of their homes.
Right. So what you are actually doing is registering those titles for the king. Regis, Latin for king. Giving everything to the king. And you didn't even know it, and you were doing it, and you're still doing it. And now you know.
Oh my
so
God.
now that you know the opposite side, and somebody came to you at your employer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how would you address that? Now that you know what's going on behind you that you really weren't aware of, you kind of knew, but you didn't know. And these people are coming to you and they're expressing this information to you, and you're looking at them like they're speaking Chinese, right?
Right. Well, now, and I'm still trying to grasp everything. Looking at it from that perspective, they could file themselves and take that out of take it out of the court and out of the state's hands, because it's fraud. All of it together is fraud, because if they're taking the property and they've already, the plaintiff has already been paid. Oh my. Oh.
God nullifies everything, and you can file. You can file. You can file complaints against them, and you can charge them. And every time it ends up with fraud, it's 3 times the amount.
At a minimum.
Oh my God.
At a minimum.
Oh my God.
And that's times the number of people times 3.
Oh my God. So it's clicking. I got you.
Yeah. Okay.
I got
the
you.
reason, the reason I'm screen sharing this placenta up here, because I want you to look at this organ right here. Does that not look like the tree of life?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, because that's exactly what it is. This is a life support system for the baby, and it processes the waste and also provides the nutrients. So they consider this a thing or a monster, as the thing that's attached to it is a thing or a monster. And these are fraternal twins. And Jesse, my co-producer, and I are currently pursuing this with the state registrar here in Texas. to obtain our stillbirth certificates for our placenta as a fraternal twin. And when we did the application, we put on there baby Tarvin. We didn't know the gender, so the gender was unknown. The date of birth, of course, was unknown. So I actually received a letter back. I did a video on this a couple days ago from the state registrar here in Texas. And so I've opened up that line of communication with her, and I'm definitely going to try to get to the bottom of this. And the second reason I have this up is because some of you may know I am on the CURE, which is the compassionate use registry here in Texas for medical marijuana. However, my medical marijuana provider, facilitator, doctor is also a best-selling author as a OBGYN. So guess who I'm going to interview regarding the placenta, birth, and how much she knows about what's going on behind the scenes on the paperwork end.
But the whole
Now, I
thing
know two
is, the
doctors that-
umbilical cord is supposed to fall off by itself, and it can take up to 2 hours to fall off. And it keeps the baby's life support system, so you don't shock the baby into trauma when you force the baby to breathe. When the umbilical cord falls off by itself, the baby starts breathing naturally.
Oh my God. You guys, I want to hug all of you because it makes sense. I need to, oh, wow. I need to get this set up fast as possible and all the information that you can give me. The reason I have, and I would have to do it in a subtle way. I have I don't even have a following. I have 1,700 people I have access to, but I have to become and get everything organized because at my church and different businesses I'm affiliated with, they come anyway and ask. And I could call 100 people now and share this information that you've given me once I have crystal clarity in regards to how to reverse this, because not just the courthouse is going through this, general population was ignorant to this process. And nobody is trying to assist. Even the auctioneer tugged my arm and said, I had so much to tell you. I have to call him back. He does the auctions for this Mobile County right in front of the courthouse, right in front of the door. They do it 3 times a month. And they sell these properties.
What? Everybody can stop those? Seriously.
Ma'am?
Anybody who's having their properties ripped off, I mean, you're gonna have to organize because they're doing this through the newspaper. All right. You're gonna have to get a copy of the newspaper, and every day you're going to have to get somebody going through the announcements and highlighting all this stuff in the announcements and contacting these people. Because once you do that, then they can go down to the recorder's office and they can do the land deed and the deed trust and this, that, and everything else.
Right.
And they can probably find the original one from the day they signed it, which had not yet gone over to the trust company. And they can find that one, and then they can retitle it and reclaim it, and they can stop these forced sales.
Good
I did it in
resource.
Arizona. I actually didn't, but I had a friend help somebody do it because I didn't have time.
A good resource for you, Anita, is a book called Land Patents by Ron Gibson.
I have
Land Patents by Ron Gibson. I just spoke with him 48 hours ago, which that's a bucket lister for me because he's amazing. Wow. He's what I call OG in this game. He's one of the originals, him and Winston Shrout and folks like that who, we kind of take for granted in all the research that we've done, but they really laid the highway for us to be where we are in this game here that we find ourselves. And absolute, that's a gem. You want to get back to that original land patent, and then they can't even touch that property because you've gone to the land.
Well, see, and the thing that you've
taken the land.
this is another, oh my God, and I'm sorry. My brain is working now. I mean, overtime. They just built a museum here. The last slave ship that was here, I don't quite understand all of what they're doing, but make a long story short, the land that was surrounding that area before the museum bought it, they had to go through me to get them to do the writ in order for them to take the property. And these people, and this is maybe what you can help me understand, they didn't pay the deed, they didn't pay anything and let it go because they thought it was insignificant. It was 3 family members that owned it. The museum contacted them through the court. Well, they filed in court. They still had to pay them to give up all the rights to this property for about $15,000. And they're supposed to be building this museum. That's one thing that my brain is spinning on because so many people were involved in that. And it was frustrating because I'm trying to do writs of distinguish, writs of execution to get this for the attorneys for the museum. I have to get organized ASAP, just as soon as I get this thing filed, because I could call 100 people to a workshop and facilitate it, but I have to give the clear process of doing this, and I'm gonna have to do it quickly because I've gotten calls this week and last week. They don't know I'm not there right now. They want to do the trust thing to basically protect their assets and ask me about a dynasty deed. I'm not quite sure the distinction between a dynasty deed and this type of deed and that type of deed, but I'm going to take the information that you guys give me and kind of get organized quickly and get to running with it because I had no idea that this was this detailed. And I'm still learning, but people want to know this now. And just my family alone, I have 8 sisters and 7 brothers. So just my family alone, just trying to get
Anita,
them.
let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Go back to 1863. Alabama was one of the 35 states of the Union in 1863. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, on the 9th of November in 1863, Abraham Lincoln stood at Gettysburg Address and gave the Gettysburg Address, which literally pulled 35 states into a trust under Abraham Lincoln. He created the trust to protect the United States from invasion. Okay. So when he did this, President Lincoln was the executor of the trust. The Congress was the trust protectors, was the trustees, and every person in the state were the beneficiaries of this trust. Well, when Lincoln was assassinated, he was no longer the grantor or the creator of the trust. So now whoever becomes the president now becomes the executor. He becomes the executor of the trust. So 35 states sit in this trust and have sat in it since 1863. So if we can go back through 1863 and get the land patents back then, literally you can get and recover most of the stuff from those 35 states. And believe it or not, the military has stepped in. Yes, you can, because it's under a trust and it's under protection. And the military has stepped in, and they are the trust protectors of these 35 states right at the moment, and they're not releasing them until this mess gets cleaned up. They're actually protecting the states, the military. So I do know this because I dug all into it and I have so much verification of it.
The military and the post office, Anita. The post office,
the post office also.
Is the only thing, and I'm not talking to the U.S. Postal Service, the United States Post Office is the only real vestige of our republic that we have left, right? The postmasters all across this nation are actually guarding our trusts as well. And this is one of the many things that I've done in the very recent past to set up my bank account with the head bank. Why not deal with the head bank?
The post office.
Oh my God.
set up your trust, have them as the trustees with them having the liability. You can do all these things if you really get down in this rabbit hole. You can do so many things to really set yourself aside, protect your heirs, your property, do everything using their system. They set it up perfectly.
And
They
this
just
is
didn't
what
tell
I
us.
I was praying about this yesterday. I promise, guys, I was praying about this yesterday because me being in that position for I just talked with the sheriff the other day. She was like, "We have nobody to help these people since you're gone," but I'm going to call them back, and I just want to be solid in my understanding. So when I am facilitating these I call them workshops, because so many people are in need of this information and I have access to these people. I think this is my new job. They just asked me yesterday.
I'll be honest with you.
Join the club. We meet here every day.
I'll be honest with you, Anita. The whole thing
Yes,
is
ma'am.
the post office is literally in Washington, D.C. So after the war, they filed bankruptcy because they couldn't pay the debt. And when they signed the contract of 1783, they literally signed over the 13 colonies as collateral for the debt that Benjamin Franklin created for borrowing the money. And Benjamin Franklin was the first one in 1775 to actually file bankruptcy for the Revolutionary War.
Well, I think this is University of South Alabama held all of the land patents, the older land and the original land patents, and Circuit Court, they had a flood in one of their warehouses that messed up the paperwork. They had several families, or I say heirs to the family, that wanted to try to obtain the original patents from downtown Mobile, because it was two families that owned it. But I believe, this is what I believe they just destroyed that because they would lose the jurisdiction over it. The state would. And my supervisor physically came and took the entire file and the entire everything and told me I better not touch it. Now I see why, because they had an attorney out that I can't remember where he's from. It wasn't New Orleans because they're under French law, but they were trying to get that. And our warehouse, I watched them laugh and not even make an effort to try to find the original and they have some that go back to 1800s, but not many at all. And they're literally in the doorway of domestic relations down at the courthouse. No one knows where the others are. So if they don't have the original documents or they've been destroyed, how would they obtain that? Because I do remember 2 years ago, someone trying to find the originals from I don't remember if it was 1863 or not, but it was in the 1800s, the original to get something done. They were working in probate, so imagining it was the trust as well as the land. And I think they did it on purpose because he had two attorneys working on that, and they just kept referring him back to the University of South Alabama, who supposedly had the originals from I thought it was 1893, but I would say 1863. How could they get that if the original original key and patents are no longer available?
Oh, they're still available because the original patents were actually issued by presidents, right? So that's a national record. It's not the only place that they hold those records is at that state capitol. It's going to be like on a national level. So they've got the records.
And also
they just didn't want to give it to them. Okay. Oh my God. You guys, my brain, I'm thinking of all the people and I didn't understand. I was ignorant to the process, but now from what you guys are giving me, because they have to go through, and I would refer them to the commissioner's office or probate to get the key numbers and the actual, what do they call it? Oh, wait a minute, I almost said it. Legal copy, the actual legal copy of those properties. Legal description, I'm sorry, I think, Anita, the legal description of the copies out of the commissioner's office or probate court.
The
So
legal
let me
description, Anita, just for clarification, just for some quick education, the legal description is not the land, right? That legal
okay,
description is an overlay that they put over the land, right? And they just give that
okay,
a number and a street and all this crap. And frankly,
and
you could
key and
go
all that.
ahead and give that back to them because that's what they deserve. Let's go ahead and put it at the post office. Say, here's your property, quit claim deed it, and say, I'm on the land. This
Well,
is my land. Get your stinking address off my land. So there's a couple of
Okay.
things that you can do in that
Okay.
regard.
Let me give you another clue, Anita. They are not
Okay.
foreclosing on the home. They are not foreclosing on the land. They cannot. All they're doing is selling the address. That's it. Just like what he was just telling you. You got to get back to the original, get all that crap off, and get the address off of your piece of land, and they can't touch it. It all
Yep.
deals with that address they put you under, because they
They can
cannot
have the
sell your
address.
home. They cannot foreclose
ahead,
on your
give it.
home. All they can foreclose on is the address.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
All
Wait
it
a
is
minute.
a legal description. That's it. Doesn't contain any real
Yes.
property.
And it's
Okay.
a fiction.
Yeah,
It's-
Yeah,
the
it's a fiction.
dowels or whatever they call it, keys and dowels. I don't quite understand it, but okay.
Meets
the
and
legal
bounds.
description.
Meets and bounds is what the property should be described
Meets
in.
and bounds. That's right.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember that. Meets and bounds. So, oh my God. Okay. Okay.
That's one of the things
Um,
that Chris is on here with us, and Josh, we actually want to, as part of our service, because we want to open up firm that does these type of services for people, and that's one of the things that we want to actually have is surveyors that survey in meets and bounds, because this is where we
Right.
really need to go to get our properties and our real property
Right.
back is
Yeah.
to have these properties described in meets and bounds, so that way we actually bring things back to the land jurisdiction, which is really where we should be.
okay. Okay.
So
Wow, I'm
another
blown.
resource, Anita, for those people also out there who want to look into their mortgage scenario, whether it's either foreclosure or you just want to have the fraud brought forward. Is one of my friends. His name is Sean Adley. He owns a company online called mortgageauditsonline.com. If anybody wants to use his service, you can go there and tell them the Bad Wolf sent you. It'll be discounted.
Kevin too, I know Sean.
Okay, yeah, super fire guy. Yep, all the good ones run in the same circles. And Sean helped me out with mine, and we're just finishing that up. But because of the mortgage fraud that was done, once you go through this process, you get a packet of information where you submit that to your servicers, and they are forced to give you your house paid off because of the fraud. And then he also does the same work with people who are in or going through foreclosure. And last I talked to him, they were saying that they were able to get people's houses back within a certain amount of time because of the foreclosure fraud. After a certain amount of time, he said it becomes harder. So you can be compensated for, but you may not get the physical house. So, but if you check him out, he's a wonderful guy, wonderful resource. They've got lots of information just to read for yourself. You can just go there. So once again, that's Mortgage Audits Online, Sean Adley, and you can tell him that the Bad Wolf sent you, and he'll take care of you guys.
Also check into when they sold the mortgage thing, because they can only hold on to it for 5 years, guys. They can only hold on to that loan for 5 years. So it's sold within the first 5 years. Find out when they transferred it to Freddie and Franny. They transferred it over to Freddie and Franny. It's an automatic payment from the US government. There is an insurance policy that will pay the debt.
Yeah. So one of the things too is that, along with what she was saying, is that they have to show a record of that. on MERS, the Mortgage Electronic Registration Systems online. Go on there and it says inactive, it's paid off, it's done, you're good. If it says active, it usually means that, like she said, within 5 years, they transfer it either to them, or what they've been doing now is they'll transfer it to another bank and then they'll transfer it back. And you'll never even know other than the paper trail. That way it gives them another 5 years for them to make the claim that it's been paid off. So they'll shell game it. Here, you get 5 years, you'll get 5 years. I'll keep collecting the payments. I'll give it to you for a little while, send it back to me. And that's how they'll keep it going. So another thing to keep in mind with the mortgage fraud is that, and we've all seen this when we've gone to the bank. What is that little black sticker say near the teller window? All accounts are FDIC insured to $250,000, $500,000, right?
Right.
Well, if they're holding our stuff and it's foreclosed upon, who do you think is getting that money when that account is considered to have been, what's the word? Defaulted.
Right.
They're not telling you, but somebody's getting the money for it. But your house is foreclosed upon, right? Aren't they? Isn't that supposed to cover it?
And also realize that promissory note is a total fraud. You think you're signing a 30-year promissory note to guarantee your loan mortgage on your home? Read the UCC codes. Promissory notes are good for 9 months only. 9 months. They
And
have
it's
9
legal.
months
It's
to
legal
turn it
tender.
in and get it back. Yep.
Oh my God.
So they can take
So
that
if I
promissory
want
note and they
to-
can cash it like a check. They just drive down. I'm in Kansas City. They just drive down the Federal Reserve uptown, on the plaza, and drive through the driveway. Hey, I've got this check for you. Can I go ahead and cash this? Yeah, that's exactly how they do it. Then, and then we get into the securities portion of it. From where I have my experience, then they take those notes and they bundle them all up and they put it inside of a real estate investment trust, right?
Yes.
Well, you've created a security with your mere signature. So now we've got securities fraud because they didn't tell you that they took that instrument and they put it into a REIT, because you're entitled to all interest, gains, principal, everything involved with that whole entire system. That's your instrument. You're entitled to that. But of course, they didn't tell you that either. That's how all this fraud is so egregious.
What else they didn't tell you about is to fund their mortgages, they went to some other trust. And inside, if you look at the trust, it's a closed trust that cannot lend or money. And so what they did is they said, this trust lent us this money for you. And the trust, and if you look in the trust indenture, they cannot lend money because they're all closed-ended trusts. They cannot do anything anymore. They cannot lend or receive any other assets inside the trust. They're closed indenture trusts.
And if they sold your original note and made a copy of it.
So
Now we've got even more securities fraud.
So the whole system is just rotten. The entire system. And I oh my God.
When it comes to real
This
estate,
is unbelievable.
real estate is fraud from the word go. As soon as you pick up that phone and you call a real estate agent, that's all fraud. If the real estate
but
agent's
now-
committing fraud, it's
So
insane.
tomorrow, if I want to go and I gotta find my if I want to put the house.
Let me explain something even better yet. Let me explain something even better yet to you, Anita. Just a second.
Yes.
Dug into this one. It's called Title 15, redemption. Okay, redemption. So what does redemption mean? A chance to re-sign, to redeem yourself. Okay. So literally, you can call a bank or a mortgage company and you could say, I want to refinance my home and I want to borrow an extra $100,000 on my home. So when you go in to sign the paperwork, you bring a notary with you. You also bring
Okay.
a new title that you wrote with you. Now, remember, you have 3 days to reject that contract. So what you do is you bring the notary in, because what they do behind your back is they notarize everything, but they're not notarizing your signature, they're notarizing their signature. So if you look in the law, anything that's an unauthorized signature or a open end signature, they can put anything they want on the back end of that signature. So what I got is a group of people who literally are going through and they're refinancing their homes. They're asking for a check of $100,000, $50,000, $75,000, and they're doing a redemption, which means that they're signing the paperwork. They have a notary sitting right by them that's brought all their notary stamps and everything else with them. They told the people to get out. They want to read the contract. So at the top of every page and wherever they have to do it, they write accepted, 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 you know, just like you're accepting the life or the. So then the notary is stamping everything. And then the guy says, okay, I have 3 days. I still need some time to read this contract. I'll bring it back within the 3 days. So you have 3 days now to get to that county recorder's office. First come, first serve. Get it recorded. Get it recorded. Now take it back, pick up your check and walk away. And you're whole home and you have money too.
Wait a minute. Did you do that?
Oh, I
Did
can't.
anyone
I
in
live
the-
in Tahiti. I live in Tahiti, but I got people in Wisconsin doing it.
I'm okay. You guys just blowed me. When I say my jaw, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was bad. That's awesome. Okay. I'm gonna try this because
You have to remember,
oh,
oh, sorry. You have to remember that from their perspective, okay, from their perspective, this is just all good business. So everything that we're talking about here, when we address it with people, this is why people like you are so critical to what we're doing, is because the people on the inside, on the upper elite levels, they know exactly what it is. These are the people I talk to. They don't like me. We have a mutual understanding.
yeah.
But everybody lower than them, and no offense to those people, but we call them low, at least I do, low-level functionaries. You're not taught this information because if they teach you what they know, it destroys the game. Okay, so from their perspective, they say, they go to you guys or whoever and they go, they're crazy, they don't know what they're talking about, don't listen to those sovereign citizens, blah, 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 which it's an oxymoron, there's no such thing. But don't listen to those people because then the game is over. So from their perspective, it's all of this is just good business. It becomes fraud when we then find out that we had other options and that we weren't being paid the money we were supposed to be paid when they sold the note or they did this or whatever else. That's when it becomes fraud. But if you never discover those things, to them, it's just good business. It means you didn't know enough to ask. You didn't know enough to file this form against us to take your claim to your property, your credit, your whatever else. You came to us. Remember this. Our parents came to them initially and abandoned us by registering us. That was the first fraud. That was the first business encounter. Then we took over those things. We never once investigated what we were handed by our parents, and then we did it to our kids. And so we're the line in the sand changing that. But yeah, so from their perspective, they can go, hey, I didn't come knock on your door to give you a social security card, a driver's license, a this, that, and the other. You guys came to us without learning your freedoms and your rights under the Constitution for the United States of America. And they're true.
Oh, yeah, literally at the hospital now, they literally give the parents social security applications because the minute the child is born, it has to have a social security number. It has to be contracted. When I had my daughter, they did not require social security cards back in 76, but I think it was 81 or 82. I had to contract with them to get her social security card. And because I, at that time, was working for the government, in computers. Yeah, I was communication. I went all over the world installing networks, literally criminal investigation networks around the world that linked in to all criminals. So you could, it was a criminal profiling network I was installing. Yeah. And I did the, computers in police cars. I did the satellite systems in helicopters. Yeah, I did it all.
my God.
Yeah. And
Anita?
I got out of it.
This is unbelievable. And see, they never want. I was over Hamilton County Teen Institute, and a lady told me years ago. She said they don't want you to say anything in regards to facilitating, because you have the full attention of the kids and the college kids and the adults. I was a facilitator for a number of years, and I'm trying to get back into that with life-changing, substantial information like this. So and the other thing I want to see if you just to throw this out there, I didn't quite understand because I was doing so much. We had 300 children that were removed from their families, their parents, by Judge Brown in juvenile court down here. And I said, it's got to be a reason. Ma'am?
13848, executive order from President Trump, was originally signed in 2018 and re-signed on January 20th, 2020, before he supposedly walked out of office. All you basically have to do is get every single one of those cases and send it to the OID, child trafficking, and report it.
Well, let's not only report that, but let's report what they're doing with our persons, because your all capitalized name is your person, and they're trafficking that too. They are utilizing that information without your permission, and that is a person. They are trafficking in persons.
And see, the system is broken. My girlfriend was a nurse, and they took her baby, and she got the child back, but it was so many that didn't. And Judge Brown kind of took the God mentality. Yes, some of the parents were bad parents, but 300 within such a short time frame, and no one knew what to do. I had to listen to them. I was in circuit court, and their grandparent clause had to be filed in circuit court. Visitation for grandparents had to be filed in circuit court. And I'm like, what? I mean, they were fighting mad, these parents and grandparents, on what they were doing, but I had no understanding. I knew something was up, but I had no understanding to what they were doing or how they were doing.
It's all profitable. It's all profit to them. All they're doing is vessels. They're dealing in vessels. Okay, they look at each one of our bodies as a ship, a vessel.
But isn't it a bond? Isn't it a bond with each child that they file a court case with, though?
There's not only a bond there, but they have access to the infants' Sesticate trust. They can build them out. Say that's it's the same reason why they put people. And I actually had a cop verify this. His commanding officer told him to go after people of color because he knows that most of them are not as educated, and there's a less chance that they're going to have a lawyer help them. And that's why this particular officer quit the force, is because he found out that when you get arrested, depending on what you do, as long as you have not hurt anybody physically, okay, those are all commercial things. But when they have you, there's a bond that's created, and then they bill them out of the Sesticate trust. So they might say, that say you did something and it was a $5,000 crime, whatever. Okay. Then they go and say,
Right.
well, to house Billy Smith, it's going to cost $70,000, and they build a trust for that. So they don't care about throwing somebody in there who doesn't know what's going on, because now they can build them out. So they're getting money from the state, they're getting money from this person's trust, they have access to all of his bonds and securities, all that stuff gets played with.
What I
So-
love about prisons is they will literally tell you who you are. As you stand up every morning and you stand outside your cell and you turn and look at the person in front of you, what does it say on their back? Orange jumpsuit, trustee. They are pushing it in your face 24/7 in a prison. You are a trustee. Okay, you hold that little key right there in your hand, if you understand it, to open that door and walk out.
They get
So,
you because they're
wait a
saying
minute.
that you violated the trust. They put you in a position, like when you go to court, to call you a trustee. So what they do is they get you by having violated the trust, because as a trustee, you're supposed to operate a certain way according to the rules and laws that that they're supposed to follow. So they're saying you're a trustee underneath them, and you violated these rules. So even still yet, they want you to sign in. Why do you think they want you to sign in? Because you are there against your will, but when you sign in,
Right.
now you're agreeing to be there.
So if you don't agree to sign in, you can walk out.
Or you sign at UCC 1-308, or I'm not reserving my rights, or you sign your full given name, not your legal name, and you put beneficiary. They don't like that at all, because that
Wait a minute,
means
so
that
what was that
you're
code you
living and
used?
you are their boss.
Wait,
They
wait a
can't
minute,
can't
three,
arrest
Or
what
their
was
put
that
it in a
code you
boss,
used?
box.
or you
What was
issue
that
them
code, please?
a note. All the crimes that they say that you're doing, if you haven't hurt somebody, even that is a financial matter. But all that stuff can either be discharged with the bonds that they've issued in the court, or you issue them another one. You're technically double paying, but you say, here's your note. Go away. I authorize you to settle and discharge this matter. Here's my promissory note to cover the commercial crime. It all has a value.
Or you use the four corners rule when you're signing into court. Draw a
Yep.
box, four corners, sign inside of the box, however you feel like signing it. You can just
Yep.
sign Jane Doe inside of the box, whatever you want, but that extracts you away from that contract. It eliminates you. It's the four corners rule.
Yeah.
You can always sign. Any contract you ever sign, you can always sign inside of a box. So you're not giving them permission to use you.
Correct. Because what is a signature? A signature was the first part of that says to sign. Okay, what are signs used for? Signs are used for business, representing a business. So your name in all capitalized letters is a business trust, and you are the signator. You are taking the front damage for the business that you represent that's behind you. You're the surety.
Well, let me ask you, because they tried to get me to sign my last evaluation before I left on my day of termination, and I refused to because it was unethical
Sign it,
and
to
not.
draw a box on their line. Draw a long rectangular box on their line and sign it. Do it.
Okay. Okay.
If you have no choice but to sign something, whether it's a cop, which is a legal enforcement officer, not a peacekeeper, but if they're forcing you to do it, just go ahead and comply. But like you said, either put a box around it, or UCC 1-308, or reservation of rights, any of those things, or you can even put just under duress.
You said 1cc.
UCC 1-308.
1-308.
Yep.
Okay. You guys, I need you, because if I'm going to do this, I'm going to sign up with Mr. Fearless Floyd. I see why he was so encouraging for me to talk with you guys. I have access to a pool or ocean of people, and I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer when it comes to certain things, but I execute well. Once I have what I'm looking for in regards to the information, and I relay it to those who I know will need this information. And I understand now, you guys have given me so much. They had to get me out of there because
You started, Anita, you were waking up. You were waking up and they can't, that
Yeah.
means you're not there to play ball. Okay, you're a
Okay,
jeopardization
okay.
to their organization. So what I have here, so my last name
Okay.
is Lovett, but this is my private nation, Levitica. Okay, so Royal Nation of Levitica, UCC 1-308. So if they want to write me a ticket and they put this down there, they're voiding the very ticket because this code means I'm reserving my rights. I'm not contracting. This is being done under duress. They call us in the police manual foreign nationals because either you're a U.S. citizen or you're foreign to them. Doesn't matter where you are from the world, you are a foreign national. UCC
How can I become a foreign
9-109.
national?
This code means that my private conveyance is private property. It's considered a household good. It's also another way to slide it underneath your homeowner's insurance for discounted reasons. And then DOT exempt. So this literally for the last 7 years, almost 10 now, this is how I travel in my vehicle because we don't drive. That's a paid commercial activity. We travel. And if you look on the back of your passport card, it actually says it on there. It says for all, it says for land, sea, and air traveling. Well, why would you need a
Right.
passport card for traveling on land? What, by horseback or walking? No, you use it for your vehicle because under the Constitution for the United States of America, backed up by the Supreme Court, we have rights to do all the things that they tell us that we need a license for, that they do. Every file, we don't even have to use their forms. We can make all of our own forms. We've made certificate of live births for the passport process. We've made our own.
Because we
IDs.
are the government. We're the
Right.
government.
We are their
Every
bosses.
constitution says it. Every single constitution in every 50 states
Yep.
says we are the government and we can abolish those people that we put into office. And we have the right to redress grievances to anybody we want.
And that's written into
Okay.
Title 15 USC 1692. You're the only court of competent jurisdiction.
There you go.
How
Perfect.
can I become, how can I start the paperwork for myself to become a foreign national myself?
You already
You
are.
don't need to.
You
You
were
already
born
are.
with it. See,
Okay.
so to back up real quick, because we did miss this part. So when you were born on the land, and I think Kevin and I think Ann kind of addresses a little bit. When we were born on the land, so my hand is the physical land. This is what we own. This is what they can't own, but they'll try to take the property, put it up here. What's up here? This is that blanket. So if I own the physical bed, their overlay is a blanket where they're trying to say, well, we own all of this. Well, no, you don't. We own the land. You're just a blanket on top. So when you were born in your state, like we'll just use Wisconsin. So the Republic of Wisconsin is different than the state of Wisconsin. Those are
I
separate
got
things.
you.
So the Republic of Wisconsin, that is of the people. The state of is a for-profit corporation. Okay. So what
Okay,
happened is being
okay.
born in the Republic of Wisconsin, that makes me a Wisconsinite. Okay. I was a Wisconsinite under the Constitution at that point in time. Okay. I didn't become a 14th Amendment US citizen until I got the birth certificate from the state of, and then we fraudulently, if you will, started checking off US citizen for your social security card, your this, your that, and whatever else. Because legally there's a difference between a US citizen and a national of the United States, or a non-citizen US national, as it's sometimes referred to. And for the record, they will use different terminologies throughout the different systems to throw you off. So a foreign national is the same thing as a state citizen, is the same thing as a national of the United States, is the same thing as a non-citizen US national, or the IRS now refers to us as non-citizens of the United States. All of those things are the same entity, meaning not in their jurisdiction. Hence why when you create a trust, you are creating a body that should be considered by where you designate the trust to be located as a foreign or private. Anything private or foreign is not in their jurisdiction. So when you see people use like L or Bay or James Lovett. All you're doing is you're creating a new entity, which you can do outside of their control by common law. And they don't have anything with that name registered. So it's private and foreign. They can't touch it. They can't do nothing. They don't even want to see it. They'll always tell you to conform by, oh, well, just get your birth certificate and get one of our IDs, then we can recognize you. That's how they pull you into it, but we don't need any of their stuff. I've got IDs that I've made. Even my credit cards, I added myself as an authorized user, and I use now my other name on my James Charles of the Lovett family name on there. So
How long did it take you to learn all of this?
I started, believe it or not, when I was 9. So I was brought into this information when I was 9 years old by a guy who was in the military named Leonard C. Brody. And he had left disenfranchised learning all of this because he was in it. He asked the questions. He was like, why does that flag have gold fringes on it? That's not a true American flag. Oh, you're asking too many questions. Just ignore that. But the whole thing is when you see the gold fringes around the flag, that is the Admiralty flag of the corporate United States, which is foreign in relationship to the United States of America. So when I was saluting that flag at 9 years old, he lost his willies. He's like, don't salute that dang flag. And I'm like, bro, what's going on? I'm 9. So he sat me down and he started telling me, he was like, no. He's like, what they've done to Jedi mind trick you is that flag with the gold fringes. If you look up the Article 4 flag, the Title 4 flag, it does not mention having gold on there at all. So what happened is they knew they couldn't bring us into court by having we'll just say a Washington, D.C. red and white flag with the 3 stars on there for the City of London, Vatican, and the Queen of England, because they're the ones who are owners of Washington, D.C. So they said, well, let's use the American flag, but due to copyright infringement, we'll add the gold around the outside of the flag because now it's not the same thing as the American flag legally. So that's why you see it in the courtrooms, and that's how you know you're under Admiralty or maritime jurisdiction. Admiralty is more so military, and maritime is commerce on the water here. So, but that's what they did. So that's what got me started. And then over the years, I just started learning more and more and more all the way up to where I'm at now. But I was always looked at as like, oh, you're crazy. You're one of those conspiracy people. It's funny because
that was
all
so
the
that
time,
conspiracy thing out there, and it's
trouble.
in our face. We just don't know how to look for it.
But that's the thing is because they've been grooming us since we were infants, which infant is their word. So is parent, a pair of renters, when you and informant, meaning they're taking away your God-given rights when a woman's signing informant to what? The child? You're an informant? That shows no direct relationship, no physical, no actual, but a fictional relationship.
What I had a problem with, and I was selective on when I brought this information up, and it's true, I just kind of played dumb with it. Out of the 315 families, 290 of them were Black families. The people, most of them, and most of the people that they put out were Black families. And no one, and then if I said something, when I said something, oh, you're pulling the race card. So I started showing case numbers and it got very quiet. So I knew that was a bad move. And because they were like, well, that's not true. And this is not this. And then they put me under investigation for what they said, practicing law.
No such thing.
And I had,
Practicing law without a license.
It's no such thing. Nope.
She walked me in and told me to bring my purse. Your signatures on this motion here. I said, if I'm doing everything, this party in question hired 2 lawyers, paid $20,000. Why would you need two lawyers if I'm so-called doing everything? And they couldn't answer that. I said, what sense does it make to hire a lawyer for $15,000 and then turn $17,000, then hire a lawyer another $3,000 if you have a relative or a friend who could do everything. That is asinine.
You were taking
And they
money out
couldn't
of their
find-
pocket. Straight up. It's all
I
money.
know. I took
Every single bit of
I
anything
took
is
300
all
I
money.
took 325,000 when the judge, it was my fault, you know. I took 325,000 when the judge gave them their homes back. So yes, it was my fault.
It was, well, don't even think about the initial, think about the ongoing, all the other businesses and services that benefit
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
and prosper
Yeah.
financially from that income. And for the record,
Give me
also,
your number, Mr.
income is their word.
Mr.
When you use when the money, well, what do you want to call it? Credit, money, whatever that you generate in the private is you're being compensated by labor. That's non-taxable. The moment you use the word income, you are then a corporation and you are a taxable entity. So you were shaking their foundation because you started waking up, which to them, this is all called the Great Awakening. See, most of us people, we didn't even know what was going on to even know that there was a thing to be against. They've been worried about
And the other
this
thing,
since
when they
day
began
one.
to cry, they would run from their tears. I was the one left to deal with the tears. So, like I said, we had some awesome sheriffs that did have hearts, and they just could not, you know, go through the entire process. And I got in trouble for asking 3 officers to stand down from an eviction, from an ejectment. It's called an ejectment when you don't have a lease, and an eviction when you have a lease. So, I was pulled in the office. I wasn't written up, but I was pulled in the office. I'm like, well, they were not properly served by the court in order to respond to the ejectment. And that was what we used. But the sheriff knew that they were never, we had a little on thing going. They're there to put them out, and they stand down. And Anita, do you have their paperwork? That means they're on their way to fill out the paperwork to ask for the court hearing. You know, so it's just, it was, we had some good sheriffs. We did. And they knew what they were doing was wrong. But what do you do?
You gotta play hardball. See, for them, it's the buddy, once again, it's the buddy system, and you were going against the grain. You were the one going in the opposite direction. And they're like, well, we're gonna have a problem here because you know too much, one. 2, you're credible. Okay. And 3, you can bring it all together. All you needed was people like us to help you bring the pieces together. So they didn't know where you were at in that process, and that makes them uncomfortable, because when you start understanding that you can go to like state of Florida on Dun and Bradstreet, and you can pull up their numbers and see who owns what and how they own like 30 different corporations, and that's what they are, and none of them are judicial. So then all of a sudden you start understanding that there's what difference is it from what they're doing to what Pepsi or Coca-Cola is doing. They're running a business, but the difference is that they're running a business under the guise of them being a part of the federal government, and they're not. Somebody's family went to the state of Montana or the area of Montana, the Republic, then went to Washington, D.C. and said, I want to open up an incorporation called State of Montana in the Republic of Montana, and opened up shop. That's what they did. That's it. That's what they did. They incorporated. They became, and when you incorporate, to go inside of a corporation. So corp is Latin for body, ation. So you went into a body and you animated it. And they're doing it out of Washington, D.C., which is foreign to the United States of America. So when you start playing around with somebody like you, a key player, you know, knowing what you know, doing what you do, they're like, yeah, let's just let her go. Let's start building on the administrative process, a way to get her out of here. She's not playing ball, guys.
And that's what they did. That's exactly what they did. And like I said, I still did not have a full understanding to everything they did, because I just didn't know. But I knew, and the sheriff told me, she said, they just lost 3 homes. They're going to come for you. And they don't know about you helping the others. But, you know, she said, I can't volunteer information, but you subpoena me to court and I'll tell the truth. and I don't know where she retired. I don't know where she is now, but they've been doing this for so long. But I don't know if I should go back or just set up a private entity, but they couldn't discredit me by the grace of God because they, I had hard copies and they, it was just a mess. They really couldn't do anything with me because she said, I don't know what to do with you. And they did an unethical termination.
Yeah, always. Here's one good thing for people to know out there is subpoena the attorney general.
Okay, let me write that down.
Send something to your state court administrator. That's the head clerk for your state.
Send something to her.
Once you
subpoena
send
her
a
too?
notice, once you send a notice to the state clerk, the court administrator, that's the head clerk for the whole entire state.
That's
That puts
Montgomery, right?
every single Supreme Court judge in that state on notice. And the reason it puts them on notice is because their bond is available for seizure the moment that you do that.
Okay, let me first of all, give me your number, Mr. Wolf.
I believe Floyd is going to send it to you. If not, I think he just sent it to me, so I can reach out to you.
Okay, so yes, sir. Let me repeat this.
I texted it to you.
Thank you, babe. Let me get understanding because I'm oh my God. Notice now, what is the notice for the state administrative for? What is that for?
Well, I would just, I would do a notice of claim,
Notice.
these things.
When I do the federal court, I gotcha. Because I told him, I said, well, I had to
affidavit of
certify
claim,
mail.
you can do it a couple of different ways, but I would go ahead and make the claim. And I've got a question for you, Anita, because
Yes, sir.
are you familiar with any of the processes of submissions to court? I mean, what was it that you actually did? Because I got questions upon when I, a man who cannot be represented by an attorney, I say that on purpose, because they can only represent corporations, fictions. That's the only thing that they can represent. If I were to send you something, how would that go into a case?
I'd have to file it in circuit or probate. Yep. From the little bit I understand, I'd have to file it as I won't say complaint, I'll say notice of claim. But I would have to look at it first to kind of get understanding of what it is. But it's so much, and my brain is racking because over the 7 years I've seen some of the terminologies that you're using by different entities, and they always fought these entities, and I had no understanding to why. I've even watched them throw it in the trash, and it just comes up missing. So
I
didn't understand.
Start filing.
Yeah, I didn't understand. Yes, they walked it to the front counter, and somehow this comes up missing, and I'm like, and I just played dumb because I was too new to know what was going on. I'm like, and I heard them whisper, "He just threw it in the trash," and he was like, "Oh, he's a sovereign citizen, and this he's smoking." I mean, just all type of nasty, antagonistic, stuff. But I was too ignorant to the process to know why they threw it in the trash. I couldn't even get the case number to look it up that it was under because they even took the trash out. And they did that because, this is what I did start doing. I said, anytime you file something, I don't care what it is, you bring 2 copies to the court, one for your records and one for the court's records. Now they have no record that you even filed it because you had no copy of your personal records when you filed your initial filing.
Right.
And yeah, that was from when I watched them throw that in the trash and that man walk away. There was no record of it. And when he came back to ask for a court hearing, we don't have any record of that. And I couldn't say anything. So from there on out, I said, you need 2 copies of your motion, your request to see the judge, your request for a hearing, because If they don't have a copy of it, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
If it is a, yeah, so
It's kind of the
I've seen so
confirmation
much.
that I wanted because in my experience, I've now filed so many things into the fake, false, fraudulent, phony railroad
If you-
job
if-
that they wanted to put me on. They put me on the tracks and they wanted me to go to a certain predetermined outcome. But
Yes.
I wasn't getting on the train.
If you're filing it,
get my
I don't care
drift.
where you're filing it. If you're filing it in the court, probate, commissioner's office, wherever you're filing it, if you do not say, if you want to do a notice of complaint, I'm going to take the notice of complaint, have one for the court, and have the court also timestamp my copy because it has the same stamp, so they can never say it doesn't exist, because that's what happens. I've like I said, I've seen the terminology, but that stuff always goes in the garbage, and everybody plays dumb. I don't know what you're talking about. And then you have a person irate and screaming, I filed this here, da 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 da, and security.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
that's
you
it.
guys.
You know
So
what? I
they just-
started electronically filing everything. I just went
That's
into
right.
their electronic
That's
system
right.
and it's
That's
all
right.
electronically filed.
That
I
pacer
superseded
and all.
I superseded the whole court issue because you talked way early on in this conversation about courts of record. Well, the only court of
Yeah.
record is you. And you take your documents before you send them and go record them on a miscellaneous land recording with one of your local counties. It has to be a county in the state. And of course, now that's
Okay.
public record. And they cannot rebut anything that's public record that has stood for more than 7 days or however long it is according to their court rules, because each individual court has their own rules on how long they have to rebut things. But that's a
Okay.
nice thing. So I did all of my filings and I've recorded all of them and then
Okay.
several months later, of course, after I turned their asses into the Treasury Inspector General's tax assessment division, I go on and I can't find anything on my court
Uh-huh.
cases. They're just gone.
Uh-huh.
Just disappear.
You know, there's a lot of counties that literally will refuse to file any type of court records, motions, or anything. I mean, I'm dealing with that situation in Maryland. Seriously, when you go to file miscellaneous land titles in the land division and you create your deeds of trust and you create your transfer
Mhm.
deeds of their bonds in your social security number, and you transfer all that into trust, they refuse to record any of that whatsoever.
So like you said, I would go
Violation of their
electronic
office.
filing. Electronic filing, and I know they're watching me now because someone I told him a friend of mine, I wanted a copy of the bond, and all of a sudden she's not calling back. So, I mean, they're all in on it, and I could care less. But they
Yeah.
can't say,
Basically submit full and final accounting. Basically submit a
Yeah.
request for full and final accounting.
Anita, I'm going to
Okay.
show you something on the screen.
I
And
can't see it because
Oh, okay.
you'll have to. I'm not able to see it. When I logged on, it blocked me out. My phone is weird.
Okay,
I
that's fine.
apologize.
Well,
But if you
will
email it to me,
You'll be able to watch this video tonight on YouTube, depending on the
Awesome.
length that it's running
Right.
currently. It'll either come on at 7 or 8 Central Standard Time, but you'll be able to watch it
okay.
in perpetuity. This is a notice of demand for all criminal bonds, bonding, and or other related connected instruments and or documents that
Okay.
it came in my possession and I went through it and totally rewrote it and made it my own. And I have
Okay,
sent this
okay.
twice to my court. The first time I sent it registered mail and I have the USPS
Did they accept
notification
it?
that they accepted it. And
Oh, they did. Okay.
yeah. But they have never filed it on my record. When I go into the clerk's portal, it doesn't show. So I sent them another one a couple of weeks ago. with a
Mhm.
fluorescent orange Post-it note, please file, stamp, and return to me at this address. And I still not have
Mhm.
received it. They will not file that document. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to go
that's
up
really
there
interesting
personally.
because one of the things that they did to me, they kept sending me presentments in a different variation of the all caps name, right?
Mhm.
Right.
And the first one was like Kevin M or whatever, or but then they sent me, they said that I actually rebutted that. I said that's actually a trust document that you guys have created, and you can't use my name. So they sent me another presentment. So I probably got I don't know, 6 to a dozen bonds now created by these jackholes.
Well, what
But
I was
but
asked,
what I
if you
did is
want
I
to
went to the
file
state
that,
of I went to the state of Minnesota and incorporated my all caps name. So I'm actually the person
right,
in charge of that name. They don't have permission to
right.
use that name. They're attacking that name. So and once I let them know this, things went silent. And then, like I said, now everything just kind of disappeared. And I'm really looking for the
Mm.
answer of why it disappeared, because I'm still going after those bonds. I'm going to get the bonds, and plus I defaulted them on like $13.2 million times 4 times 3. So yeah, they owe me over $100 million.
That's
Maybe
why they
that's why
went
they
quiet.
just disappeared. I don't know.
That's why they went quiet, and because you are the
Yeah, and they're not. They're good. And the only other thing I could maybe have a process server uh, see if they can deliver to somebody, because if you know the right person, they could file it, but that kind of money, they'll never file it. So
Well,
it's like,
here's the question that I have, because in quick succession, I had a judge, and then I filed my first piece of paperwork. My first piece of paperwork was actually a counterclaim against everything that they
yeah,
put against me, because it wasn't the truth, and I had video on my side, and a personal firsthand witness who got to see them beat me down. So I filed that, and then suddenly I got a different judge.
they'll,
Whoa,
yep,
whoa,
because
whoa!
the other one had to recuse himself.
We don't want
Yep.
this.
Yep.
And then I got a new prosecutor, and then I got another new judge, and then I got another clerk of the court. So then I said, well, if they're changing things this rapidly,
Kevin.
Mhm.
Okay. We know the story
They
because you told
recused
us before
themselves.
we started the video. Hang on, Anita. We know the story because you
Okay.
told us beforehand. Nobody really knows what you're talking about in this video.
Sure.
So let's start over and break everything down to everybody, because you are an important piece
Sure.
to this video.
Sure. So my education actually started, and this should give you some very good, place to put yourself, Anita. My education in this game actually started in May. Okay. On April the
Okay.
23rd, my oldest son was a senior in high school.
Mhm.
Incredible baseball player, was the victim of a traumatic brain injury while playing baseball.
Oh, man.
Mhm.
He was ahead on a curveball. It hit on the transition of his bat, smacked him right between the eyes, which resulted in interior fractures of the nasal cavity, fractured between his 2 eye sockets, fractured all this upper nasal stuff, and then a spiderweb fracture of his skull, which resulted in a traumatic brain injury. He had left hemisphere swelling with a brain bleed, and all of his brain fluid leaked out. The fractures of his interior nasal, which, so
Jeez.
I was
How
out
old
of
is your
town at the
son?
time with my 2 youngest. I have 4 children. We were with the scouts with our spring trout fishing trip, but I get this panic phone call from my wife, say, hey, we think Jacob just broke his nose. We're going to go to the doctor. Well, then this became, hey, it's not good news. We're transporting him by ambulance to Research Medical, which is the regional brain trauma unit. He's going to brain surgery ICU. So by the time I get back to town, get to the hospital, I'm with his coach, You know, I'm just like, hey, my son was just transferred here by ambulance, need to get to him. And the Nazis at the front desk are like, oh no, you can't enter our facility unless you're wearing a mask. And I'm like, well, I can't wear a mask because of my medical condition. So you
Right.
need to take me to my son. You have to accommodate me. Well,
Right.
and that's when this little sawed-off son of a bitch decided he'd push me in the chest. Now I'm 6'3" and I'm almost 300 pounds, and I'm a former lineman and Hall of Famer for my college. Okay, no little pipsqueak's gonna be pushing on me. Well, so he had all four of
Right.
these guys attack me all at once, and of
Oh
course I
my
got
God.
the witness right here, and of course everything going on. Well, so they trespass me and give me a ticket for assault. I found out this
Mm.
later. They give me the tickets. So I thought it was all over with because literally within 45 minutes, the baseball coach went up, told my wife what had happened, and she rained holy hellfire on the whole entire staff of that hospital until they got me back onto that property.
Mm.
And of course, these stupid idiots don't even know any of this happened. So about a week and a half later, I get 2 presentments in the mail saying that I've got these tickets. I'm required, I'm summoned to court. Well, that's when I began my education on what all this stuff is. Well, quickly, I used to study, like I said, Ron Gibson, Winston Shrout, Patrick Devine, you know, folks like that I came across in my purview probably 10 or 15 years ago, but I never followed through with any of that kind of stuff because frankly, I was a really good slave and I was making really good money in the
I hear
system,
you.
right?
I hear you.
So, so I quickly went back down the rabbit hole and found that, you know, everything that these people are doing is illegal, unconstitutional. It's against my rights. But so I started filing, you know, paperwork into my court case that quickly I found was very effective because I quickly found out that nobody wanted to deal with me.
Nobody. Nobody.
Nobody.
Nobody. It was only one other lady.
Well,
and now that you say that, they had the sheriff came and had 3 pictures of her. And until this day, I swear they passed that to every court not to deal with her.
Right. Well, I think that's what's happened in my case, and I want to give you just some kind of proof in the pudding of what's happened here. So this goes on for a couple of months, and finally I said, well, you know, I'm sick and tired of your fraud. As the executor for my estate, I'm going to go ahead and put a stay on this court case until I can find out exactly what you guys done, since you haven't given me any of the numbers of the money that you've procured from my estate via the bonds. Since you haven't given me any of that information, I'm just going to go ahead and have my investigators do the work for me, and I'll let you know when we need to start this up again. Of course, that's when I went to the Treasury Inspector General's Tax Assessment Division, because I want them, because they have the ultimate file, which is, by the way, is called a numident report, right? You get your numident report, which is the master file for your Social Security number. It shows every single transaction on there. So what I did is a little slick Willie. I put in a 2848, which is a notification of power of attorney, which you can do, appoint yourself. And in that affidavit on that 2848, I said, please remove and revoke all prior powers of attorney that you have on file because I have never appointed one. So now that allows me to go back and scrutinize every single thing that's ever happened on that numident file, by the way. All the fraud, I can go back and take care of all of it when I'm, you know, quote unquote, settling the ledger for my estate. But so recently I got back into wanting to find out, okay, maybe the prosecutor has filed a document finally into my case. Maybe they've got the smoking gun that shows everything that I supposedly did, which they didn't. But I go to look up my case and my case numbers do not pull up anything. The only thing that I could find underneath my name was actually a lien that I had filed on a house back in 2005 because I was in the construction business and these people didn't want to pay me. So I put a mechanics lien on their house. And that's still sitting there. But that's the only thing, because I've basically put all these documents into my court case stating that, hey, I'm the executor. You're trespassing on a state property, and
So
I've got a
do you
claim
think
against
it
you.
would help? So do you think it would help if you filed, just say if you'd have filed and had 2 copies and had with the original wet signature, 2 copies with an original wet signature, and took back and then gave them one that you could show proof that it was filed to file a suit, but then they could still get you with even with the suit? God, good gracious.
Oh,
Okay.
well, I've got all the proof that I sent to the
Yeah.
Treasury Inspector General's Assessment Division by all the recordings that I did with the local county. So they
Yeah.
got all of the evidence that's needed for these jokers. But the crazy
But
thing
they're not
is
gonna
that
file it.
even the corporation known as the 16th Municipal District Court of Kansas City
Mhm.
is now under a
Uh-huh.
different address. It's incorporated under a different address now. And I looked through the tree to see if the 4 judges, the 2 attorneys, the clerks,
Mhm.
none of these people exist on their rolls anymore.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'm wondering if maybe I didn't bankrupt that corporation.
You probably
And
did. Yep.
so is it your experience that this happens?
If you when they come the way you did with 2 big guns, yes, sir, it does, and it'll sit there forever, unless you can find a way for them to. But they'll just change names several times. They'll just change names. This is one I remember. Ostel had a whistleblower. Make a long story short, the same people
That's
that
the way I did it.
which
I
is,
came in as a whistleblower because, I'm in
yep,
the financial industry. I have
yeah,
licenses with the SEC and FINRA and everybody else. So I'm in
yep.
every federal database that there is. My biometrics, my fingerprints, everything is on file all over the place because of what I did. Now,
Well,
I
what they
had to
do
report
is,
this police officer because he
yeah,
created a Hobbs Act violation. He literally stole my wallet out of my pocket while I was handcuffed and helpless. So I
oh my
had to
God.
report him because it was a financial crime.
Yeah, they stole 3,000 from my brother while he was in handcuffs right out of his car, and they all laughed at him like he had nothing.
Identity
Yeah,
theft as well.
$3,000. But what they're doing is what we call the paper game. You'll file, and the only thing they have to do, like what you just said, when they basically change the name, and it can go on forever because there's no way that I know of as of yet, but I'm going to ask in order to get them. Now, this is the only thing I can think that you could do if you have a judgment winning default, you can do another writ, but you have to have say like, for example, if the state owns cars, you get the serial number, have a tow truck, and take possession of it. If they own a building, you get the deed number, the meets and bounds, and take possession of it. But they're going to stop you even with that. You're doing that to satisfy the judgment. That's what you're doing. You're doing that to satisfy the judgment of, you said 132 something, but they're still going to play the paper game with you because they already know that you're dangerous. I helped 2 ladies that won default, and the attorneys would not do it. These were car dealerships. I said, you have someone play like they're going to buy a car and get the serial number, have your tow truck, have the judgment on site if the police is called, and take the cars. Take 4 cars
Well,
to satisfy the judgment.
I was thinking about
So
going back to the clerk that's working there now and say, hey, here's all my documentation of exactly everything that's happened. You guys owe me this. I'll go ahead and take $9,000 a week for perpetuity at this point,
yeah,
and give them an
yeah.
opportunity to cure it.
Yeah. If you have that judgment, I will get a certified copy of the judgment. I don't know if they're going to stop you or find you or call security, but if you were awarded that or have just say default one by default, let's just use for example, I can't think of what they call it when you go on site and take the cash out the cash register. The clerk always has cash somewhere on site on the floor. So hey, it's worth a try. But
Mhm.
they're gonna act a fool. I'm telling you. I've
would,
seen them bring.
Sorry. I would, when I send out my affidavits or whatever else, I always make sure that I have at least about 4 people CC'd on the primary document that I'm sending.
Yeah.
So for me,
Yeah.
it's always the main
Yeah.
party, the not only
Yeah.
the judge, but the clerk, the head judge in the area, the district attorney,
Mhm.
and the attorney general for the state. And then if you really want to get down and dirty, you send it to the United States Attorney General as well. Put all of them on the
Okay.
CC, okay? And then that's when you send it out to all of them. That's when heads start turning from the things I've done. Because they really don't like that you're no longer just a dirty little secret between them. Because now other people can see that you're playing ball with the team, and that makes them very, very
nervous.
And then
Yeah.
what you do is you find out, a lot of people don't know this, is that all of those things have a board. Find out what their board is. And one of my guys actually, he said, instead of suing you for 50 million, he's like, I'll just take a seat on your board. Now I get to administer some policies. So if you find out who the board is and you send them the letter, they don't like that either. That's like you going up to, Lucifer's personal bedroom door and knocking on it. They don't care for people to know that they have a board and that they're the ones you need to talk to, because then they have to answer things. Then you can start asking them, well, okay, you guys don't want to go that way, you don't want to go to court. I'll do my own research, or you tell me who your insurance company is, and I'll just file a claim with them directly. Now you don't have to go through all that stuff, because if you tell my insurance company I smashed your stuff, they're going to pay it. Now you're going to get paid directly. Screw all the court stuff. Go right to the insurance company. Go right to the board.
Okay.
Grab the
Insurance companies are fraud. I can
they're all
guarantee
part
you.
of it
I
too.
have dug into those
that's
insurance companies. You would not
That's
even
the truth.
believe the things I found from them.
Yeah, yes, I would. I have seen so much corruption. I have seen so much corruption on a state level, and it doesn't get any better on the federal level. My sister works for the federal government. It don't get any better either on that level. It's just God help us, because we're under a system that and it's going to get worse. This year is going to be a very horrible year in light of a lot of stuff being exposed and sickness, what the government is doing. But it's unbelievable. I have more questions that I have to look at some documentations to kind of get understanding. With your judgment, do you ever think that they will fulfill that judgment or give that, in all honesty? What is due to you?
I think what I'm going to do is just bring it forward to the new treasurer that's on the tree of the court administrators. Now, one of the interesting things that showed up on the administrative tree of the court, the very top box, it said court en banc, which is French, ENBANC. But if you look that up in Black's Law, that is a tribunal of judges to settle a court's books. That's very interesting. So maybe I did put them into bankruptcy, and now these guys are actually having to settle the books for that bankruptcy. So frankly, I think all I need to do is come forward with my claim, and we'll see.
Well, they were speaking of bankruptcy. I have to file to challenge the $159,000 that was unethically placed on my husband, because he didn't have his insurance lapse and he didn't know. And he busted a radiator and a headlight, and which nobody was hurt, scratched, injured, anything. They fined him $159,000, mad at me.
Yeah.
on
that's
a
ridiculous.
$10,000 value case. So they tried to say I was a loser and no one does that. So I printed it off and gave a hard copy. They never mentioned it. They gaslighted me, tried to make like, I said, okay, going back to my original question, why would you do this? And then the meeting was adjourned. So, so nothing surprises me. What I will try to do is get all of the information that you guys have sent me, because I'm going to need more. Do
Anita,
they stop everybody?
Okay, so your husband's is he a mechanic?
My brother?
Yeah, the one you said that they placed 130 some thousand on.
Husband.
My
Husband.
husband. My husband is he's just a maintenance gentleman who works on AC refrigeration. He didn't show up for court, and make a long story short, his sister had died, so just everybody out of the window. He requested another court hearing in writing, submitted a motion. The opposing side never opposed. The judge just denied his motion for another hearing, and the plaintiff won by default, and they fined him $159,000 for not having any insurance on a $10,000 fender bender.
So one of the things that most people don't know, okay, and I've read this and it's a very little known fact, is no matter what scenario that somebody goes through, they have to provide remedy. Nothing can be valid without them providing you a way out, within reasonable way out. They have to provide, but you have to ask for it, because 130, that's not, that's obnoxious. And
well,
that's
my attorney friend said that there was no other recourse. It has to be, and I thought about putting a complaint with the Bar Association against Judge Pipes, who I was in court when he told me that he wouldn't allow that to stand. And that's what they did, 159,000. They call it an empty case, basically. It's fraud. So they just call it an empty case. But the only thing I can do from the little bit that I know is challenge that in bankruptcy court. That's all I know to do. So I'm taking that approach, but I will, I'm going to look into some things to see if there's anything else you can do.
Yeah, see, when your state last filed a bankruptcy, there will be a judge's signature on that bankruptcy. And that's a very good little document to enter into a case. Say, hey, it looks to me like you guys are in active bankruptcy. Can you explain to me how that my husband is possibly a debtor in this situation? Because they're the debtor. They're the one that's in the bankruptcy. That case and that'll just disappear, in my opinion. But folks, I need to jump. So I'm gonna drop off here. James, wonderful to meet you.
I have to go.
You too, Kevin.
Thank you guys. You will hear from me soon.
Appreciate
Mr. Floyd, I can hug you. Miss Ann, Mr. Wolf, I'm going to jump too, because they've been waiting on me. I had to take this because I've been wanting to talk to you guys for so long. I thank you. I will call Mr. Floyd back and Mr. Wolf and Miss Ann. I'll just look for her emails, and I appreciate you guys. You more than you know, because I can do a lot with this. I'm just going to have to get my system of facilitation and understanding together. Understanding to facilitate it to get this out. So I appreciate your time. It's priceless. And I thank you guys, Mr. Floyd, Miss Ann, and Mr. Wolf. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thank you guys as well. Kevin, especially appreciate you. Anita, especially.
Kevin,
and Josh, nobody, Chris, and obviously
Absolutely.
Floyd. Thank you.
Yeah, you can get my information through Ann. It's no problem.
Yes, sir. I thank you so much, Mr. Chris. Thank you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Take care.
Remember, everybody, this particular issue is not a sprint. It is a marathon. So we will be rehashing this over and over.
Yes. Oh my God. Thank you guys. I'm full. But I will be in touch with all of you, and you will have a blessed and happy holiday. Happy New Year. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. I gotta run too, Floyd. Got stuff
Okay.
to do.
All
All
right.
right. It was nice meeting you, Mr. Wolf.
You too, Ann. I'm sure we will catch up again. I appreciate you.
Oh, I hope so. I appreciate you too.
Love the knowledge.
Yeah. Oh, you love my knowledge? Oh, you haven't even probably heard part of it.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. We got time on the clock.
Exactly. Okay, take care, guys. Talk to
All
you
right,
soon.
too.
All right.
Okay,
Bye, Ann.
bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.